Welcome back. Love Boat Project, episode 26.
Yep.
Ahoy, Mike.
Ahoy, hoy. Season 2. Or as I like to
Season
remember it by the Ghostbusters 2, which is when they had the Ghostbusters guy, but then they had like a 2.
You know, it's funny you say Ghostbusters 2. We were just talking about that the other day. And you had the Ray Parker Jr. song from the first one. Obviously,
Right.
Who You Gonna Call?
Right.
But then part 2 had that Bobby Brown song, Under Control.
Yep. Which is a really good song.
That's a really good song. So the talk was, what's a better song?
I think as far as a better song, like, held up, the Bobby Brown song.
Bobby
The
Brown
Ghostbusters song is a movie theme song, right?
You hear it once a year.
Right. Now, the thing I will say about Ghostbusters 2 is it also has one of my favorite old songs.
What's that?
As a plot point, which is the Jackie Wilson Higher and Higher.
Oh, I like that.
That's like what gets the Statue of Liberty moving. So
I like that.
I would do a Ghostbusters 2 podcast just because I want to constantly be like Vigo.
Just only on part 2. The only on part 2, and then the reboot. That's it.
Oh, I haven't seen any of those.
I can't, man. I can't. I know there's one coming out, and I'm almost gun shy. It's like I gotta leave. There's no
those
ego.
2 movies are perfect. I don't need to see anymore.
I don't need to see anything else.
No. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
It's not what we're here to talk about. Welcome back. I am your host, Mike Taylor. Along with me is my co-host, Mike Robertson. Ahoy.
Ahoy.
And we're here to talk about the season 2, episode 1, season premiere of The Love Boat. Original air date, September 16th, 1978. Good news, Mike. Ben Jolson and Art Barr are back.
I know, but here's the thing, right? So I saw that they were in there.
I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
It's not the one I expected them to write.
It's not the one they should have written.
So there are 3 storylines in this thing. One was written by Mike Norrell, who we gave flowers to for the amazing oh no, we're not remembering season 1 stuff already with O'Rourke, where it was the whole episode was musical cabins.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote that whole episode. And he ended up writing the marooned part of this thing. I just assumed that our favorites wrote The Search because it had crazy gotchas, which is one of their staples.
That is true. We do like a good gotcha. Yeah, the eyes. Well, it's funny because it was out of all of the. I don't. There not a lot of twists and turns in the Isaac's Holiday storyline, and it was kind of a. It wasn't a Jolson Barr like.
No, but story. I will say, I do think I think at the end, I think they wanted to get Isaac promoted and give him, and maybe that was a reaction. Remember how we had talked about the end of season 1? We were like, are we going to see reactions to the full season in season 2?
Right.
That felt like, you know what? And we talked about it. Like Isaac either had these really full Isaac episodes or he'd be there for like 4 seconds. And so him getting promoted at the end, spoiler, into things outside, I forget how Stubing worded it, but like things outside of bartending, basically. They clearly are going to like use him in other things, which will be an excuse to get him in other things.
And have rank.
Right.
But it also establishes that he's above Gopher. Which I think is. Well, I think Gopher.
I don't know how that works. It said he'll have stripes in his next paycheck.
You know what it is? I think that you can feel the captain's general disdain for Gopher, so I just automatically assume he wanted to get.
Why? Because he tried to have him killed during this episode.
He didn't lift the tree off of him, did he? Mm-mm.
Here's what I know. Here's what I know about weather. No, I'm not going out in a hurricane to see if the roof is okay. Guess what? It's probably not.
You can probably see it from the inside too, right? You can take a good look at it.
Also, we're not on the boat, Merrill.
No.
You know who wouldn't like this? Is Eve Plum. She would have been like, man, you are not a person.
I'll be out here in the rain. Don't worry about me.
Now you're dead from a massive head trauma.
Just so... Yeah, there's a lot to kind of dive into there.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, three storylines this week. First story called Marooned.
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
I'm the speckled in maroon.
Oh, I
That's
didn't
the
see that.
costume.
Oh,
Besides the hat, 'cause
nice.
it's a two-parter. So
That is
we
good.
Captain
That
Hat
is
for.
good.
Well,
Marooned.
I was like, there's got to be costumes in this marooned episode, but except
Right.
for the way John Aston dressed, there really wasn't any costume opportunities. So
Unless I came with a white T-shirt with a marinara stain on it. Just walk in like that, and I'm worried about it the entire episode.
right. Oh, that was
Yeah.
wild, wild.
uh, and Isaac's holiday. We talked about Ben Jolson. Let's talk about what else was on. This is interesting to me.
So is this? I don't know if you know from
Mm,
this, but is this? So do we think this is like season premiere week? We should
yeah.
be getting
Yeah.
new stuff, right? Okay.
Hmm. New stuff, and they're doing that same thing they did last year on CBS. Now, keep in mind this was on from 8 to 10, so you're kind of might be
Cover a
chopping
couple
into a
things.
few things, right?
Yeah.
From 8 to 9 on CBS was the season premiere of Good Times, an
Oh,
hour-long episode. So they're doing
wow.
this again,
Okay.
called Florida's Homecoming.
So she's not passed away yet.
And I kind of make a rule that I will take the synopsis of a TV movie, but since this is not the Good Times Project, let somebody else take those
Yep.
notes.
Because here's the thing
Goodbye.
I know. I think if at some point Florida Evans passes away, maybe, or
I
is
don't
that,
know.
or maybe that's the
Maybe it's her
husband. That's John
ashes.
Amos,
I
right?
don't know. I know he
So
left the show, but I don't know where she went. Who knows?
he definitely dies because one of the few clips I remember from Good Times is when she gets the phone call or something, and she's like, "Damn, damn, damn." So, so but that's
Oh,
for Good Times Project.
that's for the Good Times Project to
Please have
discuss.
me
That's
on Good
not for
Times
us.
Project. Whoever's hosting that.
Yeah, hashtag Good Times Project. Uh, from 8 to 9 on NBC is the season premiere and another hour-long episode of Chips. They have moved Chips. We're going up against the boat as well. And it's so funny. This is so random. I remember this episode. The episode name is Peaks and Valleys. This is the episode where John Baker helps a motorist, and the motorist ends up suing the California Highway Patrol because he helped her. And it's a whole episode how like they're not allowed to do their jobs. Man, it was a whole I just clearly remember it. And I was like,
Yeah,
this is the dumbest. I had the action figures.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I didn't want to see a legal drama. Like what are we doing with motorcycles this week?
Nothing like action figures, but your court procedural. Like,
Just just dialogue heavy. A lot of
what a weird season premiere
what?
episode to have.
Terrible.
Shout out
So
to our friend Dan, former guest of the show Dan, who tipped this off that there was a Chips spin-off attempt, backdoor pilot, with a like a special task force. So
ooh, I like
if
the idea.
we
I mean
yeah, we may need to we may need to dive into some,
I
maybe
mean,
during hiatus one year we'll dive into some of these offshoot shows because I got a movie later that we'll need to dive into as well, but we'll get to that.
is it the You're Baking Me
Not the
Crazy?
TV movie.
No. All right. Well, I do have a movie to talk about. Speaking of movies
Excellent.
here, let's go back to CBS, and that's 8 to 9. And again,
Okay.
what I sort of said last year, it's like they were throwing things at the Love Boat now,
Right. Right.
right? Just to see these hour-long episodes. Remember the Jeffersons did it with that clip show when
It
they
was
were
like a
tied together at the launch,
90-minute clip show.
right?
And I guess
90
with
minute.
the 8 to so I guess the 8 to 10 too, like Love Boat obviously won't be on at 8, I would assume. I think it
I
slides
think it's
into 9
9.
o'clock.
Yeah, because in Fantasy Island's on at 10.
Right. So these
Hmm.
are people taking their shots
Yeah.
at a Love Boat, yeah.
Well, I wonder. It's funny because if you see these, right, they're doubling their episodes from 30 to, well, no,
Chips is usually an
no,
hour,
Chips
right?
is an hour. Chips is an
Yeah.
hour. I'm sorry, but Good
I mean,
Times. So it's
especially when
like,
you have that dynamic litigation
oh,
storyline.
I'm surprised they didn't stretch that out. It's a 17-minute episode this week. Dialogue heavy, no motorcycles.
Yeah, yeah, sorry, they're just
Uh,
walking past the
just
parked
awful.
motorcycles.
Just awful. There is a movie on CBS from 9 to 11. Movie's called The Islander. Oof. Let me tell you about this movie, Mike. This is Dennis Weaver,
The Weaves.
Sharon Gless,
Wow.
Bernadette Peters.
That's quite a cast.
A retired lawyer buys a small hotel in Honolulu, only to get caught up in a murderous situation involving a runaway grand jury witness, a reckless mobster, and a racket busting U.S. senator.
Wow.
Right?
So
I bet you the runaway grand jury witness is Bernadette Peters. And I bet you Gless is the racket busting U.S. senator. And
yeah, because
Weaver's
Bernadette
got to be
Peters
the
isn't a
reckless mobster.
yeah, that's got to be it. Bernadette Peters is no senator.
She's no reckless mobster either.
No.
It just wouldn't work.
Wow,
So that's interesting.
that is quite a cast.
TV movie. Let me just be clear. That is a TV
Oh,
movie.
that's even more wild that the Weaves would be in a TV movie, and Bernadette
TV
Peters
movie.
in a TV movie seems
Sharon
surprising.
Gless.
Right?
Sharon
Well,
Gless. Come on. And it's a CBS. This is when Cagney and Lacey. Well, no. This is
I don't
pre-Cagney and
think it's
Lacey.
pre-Cagney and Lacey because we have danced around Sharon Gless a few times, right?
Yeah,
Like
she's
because
got to be on the boat. She's got to be on the boat.
wasn't Loretta Swit supposed to be Cagney or Lacey,
That's
but she
right.
got stuck on MASH.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was like another thing. Maybe Sharon Gless was in one of these things, or was so
It was something like there was some
she's in
link.
the ether. So I do wonder because you would think she would be on the boat,
I
but
would
she might
definitely
get
think
too. I don't know. I guess I have this idea of Sharon Gless that she's like
she's not gonna be making out with dudes by the pool.
right. She would almost have to be one of those like sister characters. Like, it would be
A
a great
nun. She could be a
storyline.
nun. I don't know, like a gun-toting nun. Maybe not. Maybe not the guns, but
Gun
just like
toting.
just to like eliminate the possibility of a romantic angle.
I think the season 2 goal should be we should
Hmm.
find a role each episode that Sharon Gless
Sharon
would have
Gless.
taken.
All right.
So this first
It
episode,
could be. It
I have
could
no
be.
idea.
What about Mrs. Simpson? Oh no, but she's too young to play Mrs. Simpson.
Too
Sharon Gless
young.
now
And
could play Mrs. Simpson.
yeah, I don't know who Sharon. There's no real Sharon Gless role in this one this week. So she could have played Lola Falana
Or she could have been the guy, the hermit on the island.
or the guy in the radio room.
Oh, the radio room guy. Yeah. All right, let's get into this. There's too much. All right. NBC from 9 to 11, a movie. Again, this is not a TV movie. They're showing King Kong, Part 1, the 1976 remake with Jessica Lange and Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this. All right, the synopsis.
Cool. Good luck.
Yeah. We'll see if it's accurate. A hurricane devastates the tropical island where a shore party of Captain Steubing and his crew members and passengers are held captive by a strange hermit, while the Pacific Princess totters under the command of a bumbling deputy captain.
Yeah, I would say totter is a generous term.
Totter's very generous. Very generous.
For those special effects.
You mean the papers? Nothing says win like papers blowing around. We need more papers.
You remember in Empire Strikes Back when they land in the mouth of that thing and they think it's a cave and they shoot the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the level of acting in this hurricane was on that ship.
What? Here's my question: like, why go to the dining room?
Yeah. Why?
What are you hoping to accomplish there?
And they all went back to the dining room immediately. Like Isaac's like, drain that pool. Everybody's in the pool the next day.
It's so dumb. He should have said drain the pool, and they should have flashed to 2 skateboard kids, and they're like, yeah.
They invented the X Games on that hurricane.
There it is. Portholes, Mike. We've got portholes.
Porthole report.
Thank goodness. Which we'll talk about the guest stars, but then I kind of had a theory about that as well. Okay. Actually, screw it. These portholes, I feel like, replaces the confetti scene.
I had a thought. Now, this was a particularly like drone shots didn't exist in 1978, but that's kind of what it felt like. There were a lot of overhead like helicopter shots.
Yeah, it was weird.
And there were 5 million people on that ship, but there were
Yeah, I don't
no
know where the word
specific wave
600.
shots.
Nope.
Now, I will say this: we will probably come across a few things in this episode that I don't want to chalk up to new season yet,
Right.
because this is such a different episode. Because it did really feel like it was shot differently, camera angles,
Completely.
and you know,
I have a note. It's coming up here. I felt the same way.
yeah. The wave shot, though, I do think it makes sense that it would get replaced by the portals. Now,
Sure.
I was trying to figure out how to categorize the portal shots.
What do you mean? In character or not in character?
So I had so I have 4 here. I'm not committed to these
Okay.
categories. So we have normal, and by
Which is just
normal,
what? Give me a little normal.
so normal, I'm considering that you are face on, so you're looking at the
Are
camera.
you turning into it or are you already there?
I want to say you're just there.
It's a little
I
different.
feel
Yeah,
like
that's
turning in
different.
is a
Yeah, yeah,
choice.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And it could very easily just be a headshot or something
Sure.
from Circus of the Stars or something like that. You're not doing any bits. You're in your outfit probably, but it's like pretty basic. And so
Right, 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 right. Not
I
over
feel
the
like
top. It's just kind
right,
of vanilla pudding. There you go.
Edie Adams, David Burney, Lola
Right.
Falana, they all
Yeah.
kind of did the straight ons.
Right.
Now the comma to that one is looking from off camera or looking off camera.
Like,
Either
yeah,
that or
coming
not
into
looking directly,
focus.
like, so Donna Mills did that, and, the mom of Donna Mills, who I probably will never remember her name.
I feel like John
Um,
Aston did that too.
well, that's the weird thing is, right? So he's in character because he's in a weird
Well,
outfit,
he's
but
got a
he's
whole
not
thing on his head. Yeah.
right, but he's not like so I had him
So
and Mrs. Roper
ridiculous.
in character, but that was more about their costume than anything.
You know, it's funny. I felt the same way about Mrs. Roper
Yeah, because she's got the
because
whole
I left
thing.
going, I don't know who that actress really is because
Right. Yeah.
it
Well,
was wild.
yeah. But then there's the 4th category, which I think is the easiest one,
What's that one?
which is the comedic.
Oh, yeah, that's
These are the
easy. That's
people who
easy.
cannot not take a spit take or some sort of, like, wacky face, and that
Just
was
some
Dick Martin.
reaction. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Dick Martin and the other guy, Avery Schreiber, is that they, they're just looking and it's like, one of those, like,
Well,
so.
that guy, Avery Schreiber's just, he got
I
a
saw a
comedic
description of
face.
him that because he was in part of a comedy team in the 70s, which is kinda late to be part of a comedy team still.
Yeah.
But they referred to him as the Oliver Hardy, which I liked, so,
Okay. I could see that.
yeah.
I could see that.
But so I think the long story short is we'll need to refine our categories, but I think there's some version of that where it's like there's 3 or 4
Just
buckets,
buckets. Yeah. That's a good
that
idea.
these fall into. There's probably a 5th bucket, which is like,
Well, then
"Oops, we
it's
forgot to
almost,
take one, and we had to use, like, file footage of somebody," so
well, then there's like maybe the guest star who you assumed would go in this certain bucket. Like, oh, this guy's going to be the goofy. You know what I mean? Where it
right,
might catch you
yeah.
off guard or maybe, who knows? Fair enough.
Also, 6th category, animals.
Do
Like,
we
I
have
know you
another
were very
animal coming
excited
up?
if we have Benji or something like that just barking
Uh,
into the, so.
Flipper. I just got, what an easy guest star. Why didn't they think of that? It's so dumb.
Oh, I just want Flipper in the background of, like,
Yeah.
not even, like, his scenes, right? Just
Mm, no, you just draw him in a little
and
paper
then
like that.
and then in a controversial, Julie invites him to the captain's dinner, but it turns out he is the captain's dinner. So
Or Julie secretly falling in love for with Flipper. Oh, Flipper. She sneaks him into the pool, making out. I'm a red
oh,
hot American woman, and you
yeah,
are a
did not
Pacific
need
dolphin.
to open season 1 with
Oh,
a intentional Julie trying
dude,
to be flirty scene. That
so
was
uncomfortable. Like, don't, no, 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 no one would really ask. Please, we'll get there. All right, so let's go with the
yeah.
guest stars. There's so much
Yep.
meat on this bone. Edie Adams played Maureen Buell. Lots of TV appearances. John Aston, he was the original Gomez Adams, the last surviving cast member of the Adams family, as a matter of fact, at 94 years old.
Really?
Yep.
Good for
Lots of
him.
film, television appearances. Married to Patty Duke from season 1. John
Multiples.
Aston is the stepfather of Sean Aston. but this is not the Rudy Project. So if you want more information about Sean Astin, Lord of the Rings, or the Rudy Project,
Or maybe the Good Times Project goes
or
off.
maybe,
Right. Yeah.
Barbie Benton is back.
Go ahead, say it.
I love Barbie Benton. She got a perfect nose.
Perfect nose.
She's amazing. And we'll see her 2 more times on the Love Boat.
I gotta tell you,
I
we
love her.
criticized them going back to the well a few times on guests in one season, but I love bringing these people back now that it's season
They're
2. I
great.
feel like, first of all, I don't have to look up half these people. I already know them. Second of all, it's like it's fun. Like, wait a minute, you're Barbie Benton is taking care of Gopher here after
Yeah.
he's been murdered by a tree. Nobody even remembers these two were hooking up last season. It's great.
He's gonna be
Love
like,
it.
"I must be concussed because number 1, you speak English really well, and number 2, well, that's yeah, well, more to talk
Love
about
it.
here. We'll get back to Barbie Benton here. David Burney played the title role in the Serpico TV series. I didn't realize that was the thing that made him famous.
Damn it.
Hmm.
So I came across that because the person who directed this episode,
Yeah.
the Love Boat, and the only episode he ever directed, Paul Stanley,
Paul Stanley.
but not the same guy, I assume.
All right.
Um,
Well, maybe.
he directed like 6 episodes of the Serpico TV show, which I did not know existed,
I didn't
and
either.
found David Burney. And of course, to me, David Burney was most famous from being the guy who was married to Meredith Baxter Burney.
Yeah. He was famous for Family Ties, but in a way, no, he
Right.
would not be
Right.
like.
And of course, she was on the first episode last season.
That's
So
right.
the Bernie's dominating the opening scenes.
I'd say I love the Serpico movie. I'm a huge fan of that. It's a great movie. I had no idea there was a TV show.
There's no way that TV show is good.
Yeah, you
There's no
can't.
way.
There's no way. I don't know how long it went on for. Oh, and I wrote down here as well. David Burney and Meredith Baxter Burney, very bitter divorce in 1989. Like super contentious.
That's
Like
why she
call
was
the
never
cops.
Meredith Baxter Burney at the end of Family Ties, I think.
Well, it's Meredith Baxter. Baxter. Norm Crosby, Wally the bartender. He was an American comedian referred to as the master of malaprop, which is the mistaken use of a word in place of a similar sounding one with unintentionally amusing effect. Let me give you an example, Mike. I once got kicked in the tentacles.
So,
Lorraine.
do you think that our last episode of season 1, where Pat Morita was doing stuff like that, were those considered malaprops?
I don't.
I don't think so, right? Because he was kind of switching phrases around.
Yeah, it was more of like an ethnic.
Yeah. I will say this about Norm Crosby, and I think we said this towards the end of last season. The Love Boat has a reverence, or they treat these old comedians very well.
They do.
And
They
I
really do.
like Norm Crosby, who I have a favorable opinion of, but I don't know why. I think he was just always around when
I've
I was a
seen him.
kid. Like,
Yeah.
but I like that. It was like 5 minutes in and out. He didn't do that much, but it was like I think they do that as well as they do anything on this show. It's kind of like give old comic actors 4 minutes. I do like
Like, why
that about
not?
it.
It was
So
perfect. It was perfect. And he was great in that
don't
role.
give him 25 minutes
No.
because you
He
end
didn't
up with,
need that.
right.
Yeah, then you
You
end
end
up
up
with,
with Milton Berle, but yeah,
people that
so
annoy us. Yeah. Lorraine Day plays Vera Simpson, actress, radio and television commentator. Lola Falana from
from
Camden, New Jersey,
but
singer,
Phil
dancer, actress.
moved to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I did not know
Went to
that.
Germantown High School, actually.
Wow. So, well, she didn't speak like she was from the United States. She had that weird like affect going. Is that
Lola
the
Falana
character or was that her?
Lola Falana fell into the category for me when we talked about Shecky Green and
The
maybe
name
somebody else,
versus
where
I
it's
didn't.
more I know them as a reference than as a person.
Yeah, I have no
And
idea what
yes,
she's famous for. Like, I mean, I
I
get
didn't know
what
what she
she's
was
famous
famous
for,
for.
but
I assumed she was older. Like, so anyway, she was just in that scene. I mean, they didn't give her a lot to do, but good
mm,
on them, I guess, for not having her sing during a hurricane, which is probably what they would have done if it was a different episode.
Maybe
Because
she
she
was like,
basically
"I'll be
became one
on
of the
there,
first
but I'm never
after
singing."
this.
Yeah.
After this, she became one of the first like Vegas residency people. Apparently, she was the first lady of Vegas for a while.
Wow. She was making bank then, huh?
Right. An honor
I would
which now
assume.
goes to Britney Spears,
I
Celine
don't think she
Dion,
does it anymore.
Lady Wayne Newton.
Lady Gaga's out there now.
Yeah. Well, it's a
The
good
rest
gig if you can get it.
Yeah.
The Golden Knights,
Golden Knights,
the future Oakland A's, if
future
they can get
Oakland
their shit together.
A's,
Yeah.
maybe an NBA team. We'll
David
see.
Carr.
David Carr, um, Antonio Pierce.
That's right. They just drafted the tight end from Georgia.
That's right.
There you go.
You have no one to throw it
He's the
to,
lady.
but
He's the first lady of Vegas, Brock
First Lady,
Bowers.
Brock Bowers. Audra Lindley plays
She's
Mrs.
back.
Worth. Mrs. Roper. She's back.
They gave her a lot more to do in this episode.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, they did. They gave her something with some range too, which I
Yeah.
thought was kind of cool.
Explore the
Uh,
space, Audra.
Dick Martin playing Deputy Captain Cunningham, co-host of Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, 68-73. He's a big deal to have on this show, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think that was exactly like because if you notice, Dan Rowan, his partner, was in the other two parters.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wonder if these two parters
Friends with the writers, maybe, or
well, and I wonder if the two parters are scheduled in a way where it's easier to get bigger names because that two parter did have movie people,
yeah,
like
that's true.
So I wonder if the timing of it or however being that it was first of the season, but
Right,
no, I agree. He was good for what it was. I mean, you know, he that guy that they played that perfectly. Incompetent captain who at some point goes into a mental like breakdown,
right,
which was subtle,
right.
right?
Y-
Like that was like him cleaning his jacket
Like
was a mental
incessantly.
breakdown.
Oh,
It was a mental
absolutely.
his
Yeah,
brain shut down. Like
yeah.
that was actually like really well done. And there's where Bear and Jolson pay off, stuff like that. So
Donna Mills played
she's
Jeannie
back.
Carter. Knots Landing. Who else do we have on the show that was on Knots Landing? Didn't we have
Uh
someone last year that was
the
Michelle
finally get to
Lee?
say it. Stubby Award winner Michelle Lee
W Award winner Michelle Lee. That's right.
was on there almost as much as she's been on the Love Boat so far. So
Avery Schreiber, Everett Buell. We sort of talked about him before. Lots of TV sitcom appearances and a series of very popular Dorito ads.
did you know them?
When they said that, I think my brain wanted to remember, but I don't remember.
I looked it up. Nope, no recall. I think it might have been before our time. I think it maybe was more like late 70s.
It was a TV commercial?
There were a bunch of them. If you put Avery Shriver Doritos into YouTube, there's a
Yeah.
bunch of the commercials,
Interesting.
but I did not they
Was
did
he
not
like
ring a
the
bell.
don't squeeze the Charmin guy for Doritos, basically?
Or he was the Pearl Bailey for the Duncan Hines cookies, but it did not have the nostalgia for me but did you know they had sour cream and onion Doritos in the 70s?
That sounds pretty good, though. I would try one of those. That's
I guess
fantastic.
I love sour cream and onion chips, but I wonder if I'm trying like that. There's no way they had the technology in the 70s to get that right.
No, I like the idea, though.
Right. Like today, I might have one.
I would eat some sour cream and onion Doritos.
I have two notes on cast
Yeah.
before we get on the boat. First of all, did you know one of the people in this episode this week gave an introductory speech at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown?
You know what? I do know that.
Lorraine Day.
Yeah, Lorraine Day. She was the first woman of baseball, right? What was that French guy's name that she was married to?
No.
What's his
What?
name? It was Pierre. Pierre, like
Oh, right.
shortstop.
Huge,
Shortstop A.
huge baseball town, France. She was the widow of Leo DeRocher, and he got into the Hall of Fame posthumously.
He's a manager,
And
right?
and she gave Leo the lip. So I thought that was interesting.
Wasn't he French?
Yeah, Leo, right? Leo the lion, French.
No. I really do think so. I think he came from like his parents were French. There was something about French. I swear.
Okay, I mean, maybe.
Because that's the only thing
Probably
I fell down it, but I didn't put the. I don't know.
no.
I
I
don't know
mean,
why that matters.
you should really commit to it, though. I think that's the important thing.
Well, amongst the many French baseball players I talk about
Yeah,
often,
exactly. La, like the
uh,
Expos.
yeah,
The one note, and I'll try to buzz through this quickly because we have
yeah, of course.
3,000 things to talk about. Two of the stars of this show were in a movie together. Donna Mills and Edie Adams appeared in 1978's The Superdome,
Well, that sounds good.
which
Is
was
it about
released in
a?
January of 1978. The reason this caught my eye
Yeah.
was because an IMDb rating of 2.8,
Ooh, that's
which
worse than the
is
Hulk Hogan episode.
it's the Super Bowl, and there's a lot of drama. One of the players has been preoccupied with the game and his bum knee, but he's gonna play through it,
Bumney.
and he's also completely ignoring his wife at the time. And the team's star quarterback is busy being courted by a marketing firm. So, like, who cares, right? This is not what a movie is made of.
No.
But that's nothing compared to the real drama. There's a killer running around the Superdome, and it seems that the syndicate does not want the highly favored Cougars to win. They try to get the trainer to drug or capacitate some players, and he
Sure.
refuses, so they kill him. So the team manager has to try and find out who the killer is before he does something of real damage.
Oh boy.
Superdome, 1978.
I'm writing down Superdome. It's terrible.
Superdome project.
Superdome project. I love it. All right. Any other business before we hop on this boat?
No, because we'll be here all month if we
We'll be
don't
here
get
for a
this
month and a half.
started. So,
All right, recap. Here we go. We're getting on the boat. Here we
excellent.
go. Woo. Again, portholes. We've talked about the portholes. Opening scene. Doc is looking for Gopher. According to Julie, Gopher's been acting kind of loco lately. Uh, apparently he's overdue for his vacation and he's going a little stir crazy.
Which we have kind of established that these guys 10 days on, 4 days off, generally, right? So it's like,
They're on a
and
cruise ship.
they're barely working. It's like Isaac came back to work for vacation.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't. Enter Gopher with the fake nose mustache glasses gimmick on,
Classic.
which is great.
Almost tried to get him for the show. Almost tried to
Just
get him, but I was like,
ugh. Here comes Deputy Captain Cunningham. He's introduced by Steubing, saying he's taking a refresher course on the Pacific Princess before getting his own ship. Everything seems fine so far.
not a weird thing.
Not a weird thing
Not a
yet.
weird thing to take
Okay.
a refresher course of running a ship with 600 people on it.
Yeah, I don't know what his refresher course is in. I mean, if you came to Steubing for a refresher course, and I have no. Is it about holding two sticks? Do you need to relearn how to hold two sticks?
By the way, shout out this new stick shot guy back in this thing.
Jeez,
It's like 9 episodes of that thing.
it's ridiculous. We get a new camera angle, which you'd mentioned before, of the lobby of the ship. Like it's
Yeah.
on a crane. You can see the whole.
Yeah.
And I made a note, a few new camera angles this episode. All that season 1 money!
Yeah.
Exclamation point.
Yeah. Or like Paul Stanley was like, wait a minute, you guys could actually make this look better if you want. And they're like, get out of here, Paul Stanley.
Like, you feeling good tonight? Like, no, not that Paul Stanley. All right.
I want to rock and roll all night and use a crane shot every day.
Enter Jeannie Carter looking for her room number from Gopher. But then here's the lack of security. Ask Gopher for the room number for a Vera Simpson. And Gopher has no problem giving her the room number, Coral Deck 123. And Jeannie Carter abruptly walks away once she has the room number.
Yep.
Zoinks.
I bet you if Jeannie Carter looked like Lola Simpson or whatever the hell her name is, that Gopher wouldn't give that number out.
But Gopher's easily intimidated, though.
That's
Like he's
true.
just sort of, you could just be
But who
like, "Hey,
hasn't gotten that information?
I
Jimmy
guess just
Walker
give it
got
away,
Jimmy Walker got, like,
free
stopped for a
passage."
minute. That was the closest they came to security.
It's ridiculous. Uh, oh, here comes Barbie Benton getting back on the boat. Uh-oh. This time she is Kiki Atwood, and she immediately puts Doc on the pay no mind list. Like, just don't. Mm-mm.
So they in a 2-hour episode, there
Yeah.
should not be any stone unturned. But they basically have her as some sort of snobby heiress, I guess. But
Yeah.
but they but they make a point because they have her chauffeur there, which is great. I like that guy was really
Douglas.
good.
Douglas the
Douglas,
chauffeur.
he was really funny. But they mentioned that she basically got dumped or jilted at the altar by her
The
fiance,
day
but
before the wedding. Day
they
before the wedding.
never they never get into it.
No.
You've got 2 hours to kill. You never give me anything? Like, obviously, she's a terrible person, right? I mean, that's where they're going with it,
I
but,
have a
like
guess. Yeah, I
okay.
have a guess.
Yeah.
I know what happened. I booked this. Yeah, I
Oh,
did some
okay, fancy
fantasy
booking?
booking.
Yeah.
Yeah, he left her when she found out that she could speak English.
Oh,
But
so you
boom,
think she's running that
boom.
thing the whole
She's
time?
running that old hustle. Yep.
She was good again. She's pretty
She's
good. They
always
don't
good.
give her a
She's
lot
good.
to do either.
Maybe it's best.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like small amounts of Barbie Benton are better. Like
Yeah,
you
I
don't
mean,
want to give her like a soliloquy.
the her and Julie cat fight could have been better, but yeah, she does a lot with a little.
I feel like Barbie would beat the crap out of Julie. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, that was
Julie would
weird.
cower.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird.
It's she's um again, I wrote down here, you kind of mentioned it. This is another example of someone coming on the cruise after some sort of loss. Remember the exciting,
Same.
oh, I'll be on, Annette Funicello, that
Oh,
whole
Widows.
thing.
Ugh, yeah, or
Widows or
Andy
like ending
Duncan.
a some kind of traumatic event, losing they
Yep.
always come on this ship, and I'm just like, why do they keep
We're
going
better.
back to that well?
We're better to be.
We're better to be.
I mean, yeah, we went back to all the wells. We had an orphan in here. We had
Yeah, every
adultery.
well is gone back to in
We
the
had all
same
the hits.
episode. Uh, enter Mrs. Worth. Mrs. Worth again is Mrs. Roper, if we're paying
Yeah,
attention at
that'd be
home
much
here.
easier. That'd be much easier.
Yeah, I'm with you. Gopher knocks the camera out of her hand. He picks it up, and she says that there are still kind, nice people in the world like Gopher, who just knocked the camera out of your hand. Like you have a very selective. What are you, a
Right.
goldfish? Do you not
Yeah.
remember what just happened in 2 seconds? He knocked it out of
It's
your
the
hand.
last thing. It's the last thing that happens.
But then I was thinking too. I was like, well, are those his gimmick cameras? Did she have a gimmick camera and because he had two different, he had the water shooting one and the worm shooting one
Why
of
didn't
the
they make
cameras.
that see, why didn't they that should have been part of the thing. Like, he
That's why
shoulda
I felt like it was
gotten
missing.
switched up, right?
Right.
And then she shoots John Aston with the worm, and he gets pissed and shoots her with the dirt gun. So it's
Or he's allergic to that specific breed of worm, and now he only has 5 months to live. uh we see Jeannie Carter again. She's approaching cabin C123. Here's the acting. Shakes her head and walks away. And I put clap, 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 acting, clap, clap,
Yep.
clap.
Yep.
We know something heavy's about to happen.
Yeah.
Here comes Maureen and Everett Buell. And I got to tell you, Mike, I didn't want to spoil it. I hate this couple in this. There's just nothing.
It does seem
They're
kinda
not even
boring.
supposed to be in it. They don't even have a
Yeah.
title. Like, who are you people? You're
Yeah.
support characters. Like,
Yeah,
it's too.
it 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 almost felt like we have to pad out the marooned group, but their whole story arc was they were the Lockwoods or the Lockhorns for a while, and then we'll get to it, but their saving moment is adultery again, but it's not even real
So
adultery.
weird. Just
Like, the whole time, it's just like, "Ugh, you used to be great, but now you're not," and the guy's like, "I don't know, I'm alright," and she's like, "No." It's just like,
it's
that's the
just
whole thing.
my theory is that they needed to get two 50-minute episodes without commercials out of this.
Yeah.
So I think especially in that second episode of part two of this, you could feel like the music played a little longer in between scenes, like anything too.
Well, and it's
So
we said a similar thing in the Caper, the part
yeah,
2 last year, but they had like on-screen stalls, right? Like there's 5 minutes of them drilling,
yeah,
there's 5 minutes of Harold Lloyd running around like he's stuping,
hmm
obvious things. They didn't do as much of the blatant, like the whole episode just felt like they went back and forth with Barbie Benton being a
dude,
bitch basically 6 or 7 times. It was just stuff like that, and it makes it worse.
it does
As
make it
bad
worse.
as bad as those scenes where you're dragging it out are, it's like at least you can be like, "Okay, except for that, it was fine." But, like,
W-
this is like you said, just peppering you with the same scene
It was
over
the
and over
same
again,
shit. Like,
you
just
know?
give me a 90-minute episode. You don't have to do,
Yeah.
but I get it. Season premiere, ads to sell. It's more time for
This
ads.
this was I was surprised. We joked about, "Oh, the Facts of Life goes to London," and,
Hmm.
isn't there, like, a Family Ties where somebody steals Tina Yothers' school
I'm
bag and it's a whole
sure. No,
like,
that's the one where she gets hurt where she's surfing because Tina lost that thing in a
classic
cave with Vincent Price and they tied their socks together.
classic
Classic.
classic Family Ties. Also, classic London surfing, so
Oh yeah.
looking forward to that one. But that's what those shows are. I didn't know that existed, but this is kind of what that is. This is not a Love Boat episode.
I always
It's
then the sound back then. This sounds so stupid, but like whenever you have like a quote unquote outdoor shoot, something happens with this. Like I feel
you need to be in the
like
studio.
you could hear the overdub. You know what I mean? You could hear the.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like it kind of takes you out of it for a second because it's not that you're
Well,
really in
especially
it,
because
but
it was like they were using the laugh track,
right,
but
yeah,
there were
it was.
definitely times where there weren't, and, like, it was just it was odd, and it's really hard to take these dramatic attempts that they're doing seriously when you're in a hut. Like, it's just
Oh
like
yeah, there's some. Okay, yeah. All right, let's get
we're not
back
even
into
there
this.
yet.
We're not even there yet. I last thing about Maureen Buell. Just want to say looks stunning in the white Jeff cap vest jacket combo. Looking good, Maureen. You go, girl.
She's dressed like remember Riff Raff in the Garfield commercials or
Yeah,
cartoons?
yeah.
She looks like Riff Raff, the leader of the gang in
It
his
was half.
school.
It was the Heathcliff hour, and then it was the riff raff. They lived in the
That's it was
junkyard.
Heathcliff.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry, it
yeah.
was Riff Raff and Mongo and Wordsworth and the other one.
I mean, she's coming in like Ace Frehley without the makeup in 1978. Hey,
Well,
man, look at Maureen.
well, that's because she knew the director.
She was just ridiculous. Yeah,
Do you think that was a tribute to Ace Frehley from Paul Stanley?
I could have. I forgot the old. I even forgot the joke.
Are you ready to rock?
Let's go. A vacationing Isaac Washington enters the boat, not in a matching leather jacket, leather pant ensemble. I will say, good for you, Mr. Washington.
Yeah, but he gets there eventually. he gets to
Oh,
he
yeah.
gets to his outfits eventually. So
He was supposed to go on a ski trip, but there was no snow. Leaves his bag and just kind of tells Gopher to take it to his room. Wouldn't you go
they
to a
come
different?
in they come in real hot with Isaac's gonna be a dick to these guys for a
Yeah,
while. Which I guess you do it because A, it's funny. Oh, it's funny. But it's sad, Isaac, that you came here for vacation.
this is it.
But they
Yeah,
also do it because he obviously becomes the hero afterwards, so you can get away with it. But for like the first 20 minutes, I'm like, oh man, Isaac, this is a bad look, dude. You're kind of like, did you ever like when I worked at Wawa, uh, I was dating somebody who worked there for a while, and so
yeah,
I would stop in when I wasn't working. And like you're just hanging out at the place you work for like an hour for no reason. Like that's sad. That's sad, Isaac.
yeah. I
I mean,
thought
thank
so.
God he
What
was there. How many people would have died? But
the last Love Boat episode? That's what it would have been. It would have been the
would
Isaac show next week. Isaac
have
finds a
been
boat. uh, That's why I wrote this note. There's no close-ups of guest stars throwing confetti. Did the portholes replace the close-ups, which we talked
Yep.
about, and I really do think it did.
Good.
Tequila Sunrise for Mr. Washington.
Yep.
Isaac says he could make a better one with one arm tied behind his back. And I just, for
Well,
the record, want to say we've never seen him mix one drink in
I don't think
24 episodes of The Love Boat.
maybe that's the problem is he's been using both arms. So
He
it's
can't
like,
do it with two
no,
arms.
exactly. But if I'm Wally the bartender, get the hell out of here, Isaac. It's like,
Well, and it's funny because I was like, okay, one arm tied behind the back. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. This is the easiest drink in the world. It's tequila. It's orange juice. It's grenadine.
yeah,
You specifically do not stir it.
yeah. And even if you did, it's bing bang boom
Right.
stir.
You can
Like
stir it. Right.
as you gave me this advice as someone with a recent newborn. It's amazing what you can do with one arm tied behind
Dude,
your back. So
it's
it's
amazing.
like
It's amazing.
this is not the brag you think it is, Isaac.
No, no. Again, just I wanted to say, so a tequila sunrise, right? That is orange juice, grenadine, tequila. Tequila sunset is grapefruit juice instead of OJ. That was just a little fun fact.
Ugh.
You don't like grapefruit juice.
Well, I don't like tequila either. So
No,
this drink
I
is really
don't.
a tequila
Mm-mm.
sunset is definitely not for me.
Oh God, no. I just don't like tequila. It's just
Yeah.
not. Enter Mike Adler. I'll tell you who likes a tequila sunrise. Mike Adler likes a tequila sunrise.
I tell you who doesn't like Julie.
You see the look? Did you see the
No,
crazy look?
no, so basically Mike Adler is a soap opera
Right,
actor,
right.
and Julie recognizes him and then does what every person in a soap opera role does is gets told all the character things that happen. Hilarious. That's something they should have saved for something else. That's actually good. That would have been
Yeah,
interesting to have that combination where it's like, listen, lady, I'm not this guy or something like that. But they never really get back to the acting thing except at the end for his stage name. So I actually liked that Julie was into soap operas because as we've talked about, there's plenty of time to watch TV on this boat. And I liked that Mike Adler was like,
yeah.
all right, so I gotta
F
go.
off. Goodbye.
I gotta go bang my sister.
Well, well, that's the thing with the Julie thing. It's like you're in this position professionally where you can't act like this.
Right,
Like you can't be starstruck by the guest you're there to work for. It just
right,
doesn't work, and it just makes the whole thing weird.
right.
Julie's just. I wrote here. Oh, Julie has that man hungry look in her eye again. She gets that psycho. Starts
Yeah,
like, oh,
she's like there's like a 2 and a 15. There's
that's it.
no ramp up. There's not like
Nope.
a you're kind of attractive or
Nope.
I like your work.
Mm-hmm. This
This was not a great
no, it's just
this was
normal,
not a
par
great
for the
Julia.
course. Yeah.
Actually, this was not a great episode for a lot of people. So
No, no, no. It wasn't a shining episode for quite a few people. Uh, Isaac approaches Mara Carol, Lola Falana at poolside, asked her to dinner, and she's just like, no, no. Flashback. This is what I was saying. There were so many scenes, flash, 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 that it was
Right.
like,
Yeah, it's hard.
Mike Adler walks up to Jeannie Carter and says, I've seen happier faces at a tax audit. Oof.
Also, old artsy shot by Paul Stanley there.
Yeah.
She's kind of leaning up against the post, and he comes
He
around.
loves, I'm the star child.
Are you sat on a lamppost? Chicago.
Look at us. No, Paul Stanley. We don't need any more smoke machines. Oh, okay. Mike Adler came on the ship with his mom, but she ditched him for a floating gin rummy game. And I thought, uh-oh. Is Wendell Sneed up to his old tricks again?
I enjoy a game. I haven't played in a long time, but Jim Rummy's a fun game. But they make it sound like you have to be 100 years old to like Gin Rummy.
And you can only bet like half a penny at a time.
Right.
I owe him 15 cents we played for 7 hours.
And apparently this boat is like Mississippi in 1840. Like people are just taking down everyone with their
Just
gins.
luggage full of change because there's no ATMs.
But that was the only shot they gave the mom for a while, right? Like for a while. It's
I
like
think until she finally came up to the
right.
table.
She's
Yeah.
in she's, like, weighing this she's in the sad, Marion Ross table in the back, like, just bilking these olds.
Oh,
So
you request the Marion Ross table. Yes.
sorry, did you like the Ray Bolger the s Ray Bolger suite?
Do you want the Leslie Nielsen balcony? Uh, Jeannie obviously has some issue going on, but she won't talk about it with a stranger who she met literally 20 seconds ago,
Yep.
which is fine with me. I was like, you don't have
As
to.
you always say, oversharing on this boat,
Oh, shit.
but
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's just, we see Cunningham and Steubing enter, and they compliment Maureen Buell as she immediately starts to criticize her husband. She says
yeah,
he's as romantic as a tree toad. Ouch. Language. Language.
people
It's the gimmick. Now we just
right, and this is
every
where you know it's the
opportunity.
Lockhorns, like, this is what
Like
we're doing with you. But, like,
Maureen Buell's
do
a jerk.
people do people like this exist? Like, I am
There's no
not
way.
saying
There's no
every couple is not happy, but there's no you are happy enough to go on this 10-day excursion with this person that you cannot stand, but you're gonna spend the whole 10 days chipping at them. And, like, every 2 weeks, we have a couple that's doing this. Like,
maybe it happened more in the 70s. I don't
is
know.
divorce is not a thing? Divorce or murder? Like,
Murder. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to go
I'm
on a
like, would
let's
you
not
like,
go on the cruise.
we've
Jeez.
all had failed relationships. You know what I'm not doing
Sure.
is getting trapped. So
No, no. This is not the thing to do to fix a relationship.
no.
Let's go cut off from the world.
Right. Yeah. But let's not try to be civil at all. Let's just make sure
No,
we're
no,
getting
no,
our
no, no, no.
zingers in front of complete strangers.
Yeah,
So
start writing now. Like I want to see that suitcase full of pictures of children, oversized pictures of children, uh marked deck of cards, and just think, yeah, no, I'm with you. It's
we
ridiculous.
never whenever we bring up the who shouldn't be on the boat, it's always
Yeah,
those people, right? People who have had loss or
right.
got jilted. It it really should be these couples that should not be together, let alone should not be together
No,
traveling. So
no, because there's just two things happening. They're
yeah,
sad and they're, then it's, yeah,
you're kind of bumming out the other people, I would
they are
think.
bumming out the other bit. It's the love boat. It's not the mope boat.
Mope.
Mope boat. That's a whole different show. This, guest starring Eeyore every week. Oh, bother.
Paul Robeson.
Paul Robeson, the drummer that was replaced from Kiss, Peter Chris.
Oh,
Oh, I know. Paul Stanley won't let him be on the love boat. Doc walks up again to Kiki Atwood to give it another shot, and immediately she's like, no, goodbye. And he's
yeah.
like, Mike
Yeah, Doc's
Adler.
not doing well. You
Mm,
know what's funny with the Doc shoot downs are because we've had a few of them
yeah,
lately, is he doesn't adjust at
no.
all. Doc's got one move. So, it's that's
He's going to
it.
take as many swings at it as he can with the
Mhm.
same tone, with the same.
You know what it is? Shoot or shoot.
It is what it
That's
is.
what you gotta do. You gotta make the next one.
Was that Tin Cup movie? Or when
Yeah,
Kevin Costner was shooting wrong in that hole over and over and over and over.
yeah.
That's like
That's
that.
what you do.
That's what
Eventually,
Doc
he
would
made
done
it.
the same thing.
Well, it worked for Doc too. Eventually. All it took was a hostage situation. So
What just makes me wonder, did it take that many swings to get his medical license too? That's all right. I'll take it for the 20th time. I know I'll pass it this time.
sure.
He went to medical school when he was in his early 20s. He's mid 40s. He just started practicing medicine like
At
24
one point
episodes ago.
At one point, Doc says he never lost a patient. Do you actually think that's true? So,
Well, the wording's very specific.
yeah, yeah,
He didn't say I'd never had a patient die. Like
on
he
my
didn't say
table.
that.
Well, you know what
And
it
I
is?
never
He probably
lost them
never
because
lost
I knew exactly where they were.
right, because I put a bill
NBC.
on him. He probably never lost a patient because he probably just ignored the patient, so it doesn't count. Like that poor guy with the back injury. He was busy
He's
making
like,
time with somebody,
I know
so
where they are. They're all in the freezer still. Come with me. I'll show you. Uh, Mike Adler telling Jeannie that if she needs to talk to someone, she can talk to him. She says, you're a perfect stranger. And then goes on to say, well,
But
I I hired a private detective to find my mother, and she's on the ship in room C123. Well, I said apparently in C123. Well, if she had
Right.
just said the room number, couldn't have been like, that's where my mom's staying. Oh, but they wouldn't have.
Right.
All
They
right.
wouldn't have, it wouldn't have
We
had all
wouldn't
these
have the
crazy mix
incest
ups.
scare.
Yeah.
Sure. She tells Mike that she dreamed that her mom would be happy to see her, but she was scared she wouldn't. And I wrote, overshare again on the boat.
Yeah.
This
It's a
is day
lot.
one of the boat. Day one.
And I tell you one thing, if he looked like old Everett Buell, he wouldn't be spilling her guts.
No.
Good
If
for
you want a
Donna Mills
soap
though,
star,
because we know what a mope her previous husband was on this show.
big
He
time
would have been
mope.
on the mope boat for sure. So
Oh, looking at his shoes. We
plotting revenge.
right. We see a sign for the radio room, and I went, wait a minute. Why is the radio room like in just a cabin? Like, wouldn't the radio room be near the
next to
bridge,
people.
or
Yeah.
why? What do you have better reception when you're a couple levels down when you're next to other? What? And it just says radio room.
Yeah.
That's not what a radio room is.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
just he's
just
got a
one
desk.
dude.
Yeah, it's a guy. It's if it was on the other side, it would have been the broom closet. So
So the message we're getting, it says hurricane alert, attention, hurricane approaching Mexican coast. Couple things here. Wait. This is day one of the cruise. The cruise
yes.
just left.
Yes.
And nobody checked the weather before they left.
Yeah, what was the meteorological
That's what I was
tracking
trying to
system
figure
in
out.
1978 for hurricanes?
Is this pre-Doppler? I don't know. I don't know what this
Do you
is.
guys have a window?
Like, how do you not?
Because this comes the next day, right? Like they go on that jaunt the next day.
Yeah.
So the hurricane at most is coming the next night. So
Like,
yeah. Like you feel some of that. Like you feel some of those tropical winds. So
it's radio guy gives the hurricane warning to Captain Cunningham. I say Captain loosely. And he asks him to give him to Captain Steubing. And Anderson says, you do your job, I'll do mine. Here comes Mrs. Roper. She's asking, I'm going to just call him Anderson. Anderson had to get to the Lido deck. Cunningham. I don't know why I put Anderson there. Cunningham. Wow, I wrote, that's weird.
You're thinking of Teddy Anderson. You think R.I.P. Teddy Anderson.
Ted R.I.P.
By the way, how was this episode not dedicated to Bob Crane, you savages?
Stubby winner.
Multiple, maybe.
Multiple stubby winner. Yeah. Asked Cunningham how to get to the Lido deck. He draws a map for her on the back of the hurricane warning because he's just a dunce. And then turns and walks into an occupied cabin. I know where I'm going. He's just shell shocked.
Nobody locks their door on this boat. There's a lot of just walk-ins.
Yeah.
In this episode.
We see Isaac bringing Gopher and Doc to the pool area to see Mara Carroll, Lola Falana. He wants Doc and Gopher to make it seem like Isaac's a big deal. This is like a wasted scene here, by the way. They ask about his oil wells, and she's gone. Mrs. Worth has now replaced her, but nobody knows that. And she tells Isaac she can't do dinner, but she can have a nightcap later. Mrs. Roper, wah, 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 wah.
And I think that's the act break for scene one. So
yeah.
it's like
what?
What is happening here?
Well, and also they're in a sprint to make something happen. Like I feel like this whole thing is just a sprint to get to dinner time.
Right. And a little behind the scenes for the listeners. At this point, after watching that only, I had texted Mike that this was crazy, and we had gotten to none of the crazy stuff yet.
None of the crazy stuff had even. So we're back. It's dinner time on the ship. Captain's dinner is back. Although the table's a little underwhelming at the captain's table, the way the setup, but
the whole dining room is very small this week.
Yeah, it's really weird.
I don't know if they're painting or what.
Yeah, it's very odd. Doc's at the buffet and he tries again with Kiki attitude. I called her Kiki attitude because she had an attitude.
That's pretty good, actually.
That's pretty good. Wow. That's the name of my new band right there. Kiki attitude.
Did Kiki attitude open for Kiss?
Paul Stanley. That's Paul Stanley. It's a Paul Stanley device. She says, she turns to him and she says, all right, gives Doc her cabin number, tells him to be there at 11 and says, "You better be dynamite."
Yeah, that was like Roxy Blue level.
Dude,
That was just like,
Doc
all
would
right, well, if you're
not.
gonna keep bothering me, come up to my cabin, perform, and leave.
Well, Doc's not into women doing that. He's just like, "Look, lady, I'm gonna make out with you. I'm gonna give you missionary sex, and you're gonna love it. That's it. That's Doc.
Maybe we'll split pajamas.
Maybe that's as crazy as I get." And he's like,
I gotta
"Doc,
think.
hmm,
I gotta think. Kiki Attitude would destroy Adam Bricker. He has
that would be
not.
the last
Even
episode."
the twins. Even the twins. He has not messed with this level of person.
No, 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 no.
He's not ready for this.
No, God, no, he's not ready for this. And it just threw him so much. He said,
Yeah.
"No thanks. It would probably take dynamite to move you," which is weird because
He's impugning his own performance
yeah,
ability.
yeah, I feel like he's
Yeah.
Doc didn't like that. He's like,
No, Doc, that really threw Doc off.
I feel like Doc like subscribes to the like Sean Connery like sort of viewpoint of, you know, I don't want to say it, but you know what I mean. I just
Yeah.
feel that. Yeah. Isaac is escorted to the captain's table, calls Captain Stooping Merrill, and aggressively pats him on the back.
Yep. I
Says he
respect these
owns.
guys screwing with Steubing or all the people that he's gonna have to work with next week. Like they're gonna remember, dude. It's not like you're never gonna see these people again. Like,
Oh, I love it. Yeah, get it in when you can get it in.
right. Yeah.
Says he owns a Concord.
Yeah.
And he tells Steubing
That's
that
something.
this wine should be chilled, not frozen, which I was very funny to me. But then I was like, why didn't Steubing just say, "Well, you should know"?
Yeah. Like if that wine is frozen, it's probably from your last shift, Isaac. It's not like
Yeah.
so it's
You
you're
didn't do
the
your
head
side work?
you're the head bartender.
Yeah. We're low on lemons, so give
Somebody
him some
stole the,
side work. Maureen or the Buells are at the table. Maureen continues to be crappy to Everett. Blah blah blah. Jeannie Carter enters the dining room and asks where Mrs. Simpson is sitting. She's told she's dining in her cabin. Also, boy, they're just free to give out info.
Why do you have that information?
I don't. Yeah, like what? Maybe she's eating liver in her cabin.
She's at the vending machine right now.
Yeah, like what? They have like a live tracker on them.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
under.
Yeah.
She meets Mike Adler. He asks her to join him for a fillet of armadillo. Just
Sure.
dumb. It wasn't even funny. Here comes Cunningham. He asks if Mrs. Worth made it to the dining room, and then I'm like, yeah, she's sitting right in front of you at the dining room. Why are you asking if she made it to the dining room? Are they just trying to paint his just lack of awareness? Or like what?
I,
Or it's
I
just an
don't know
opportunity to
because
show the back of the thing?
probably. I
Yeah.
mean, but it's like we already know.
We already know. Cat's out of the bag, dog. Like we
Yeah.
know. She flaps the map with the hurricane warning on it. Cunningham says nothing like being lost at sea. Steubing says, "I'll relieve you on the bridge." We didn't see the bridge one time during the hurricane. We didn't see the bridge. We got a cabin for a radio room. Really?
And he's not relieving anybody. The deputy captain has never come down to dinner ever. All of a sudden, Steubing's like, he's Steubing's probably like, shit.
Like, what are you doing?
This guy came down. I have to go up and relieve him.
Well, he's like, who? He should have been like, who's steering the ship?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's the real deputy captain who is neither of you. So
Uh, apparently, Steubing feels comfortable leaving the ship with Cunningham. Wants to go on an excursion, an island near Cabo St. Lucas. Everyone at the captain's table is invited, but Isaac doesn't want to mingle with the help.
yep.
So he and Lola do not go on the boat. Smart.
Steubing gets to this excursion thing
So
pretty
weird.
fast. Like he is looking for any reason to get off this boat. Like,
Yeah, I don't.
and what is the mechanics of the excursion? So they are in port. Is that what it is?
I guess they're in port, but then they took like a boat when
The
they were in
launch.
port because
We went zero launch the first like 20 episodes, and once they put that old man on the launch, we've been launching all over the place.
like what do you? But you're at work. You're the captain of a ship, and you're at work, and you're gonna go. Hey, I'm gonna take how many? I'm gonna take 3 other crew members.
Yeah, we're taking 4/5 of our crew
The
basically.
the only doctor on board for 600 people.
Yep.
Julie, which shows that Julie doesn't. They don't need any of those people. All they really needed was Isaac.
Yeah. No, it was weird and not explained
Very weird.
well,
No,
and there should have been some.
you got to explain it somehow.
Because the other thing that happens is, forget that it's those guys, right?
Yeah,
Like if this is happening during port and they pull that boat out of there, they don't check to see that
it's
everybody's
so
back.
stupid. So stupid.
I
That's
know
what I
that's what
like. You're gonna
happened to
let the boat
Kathy.
leave?
That's what happened to Kathy Bates, right? So I guess they don't check, which is weird.
It doesn't make
Like
sense.
like a plane checks
There's
before
no
it takes off.
checklist. We're just gonna leave you in Mexico.
Just give me a clip. Just give me a clicker. Like
Can we
500 people
count?
went out, 500 people
Yeah.
came back. Like
And this is more than one person. It's not
yeah,
like my count's off by one. Whatevs.
right, right. It's
My
9
count's off
people,
by like
or
9 people,
8 or 9 people.
including the
Yeah.
captain of the ship.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike is with Jeannie. He wants to get the cabin number to help her. She wants to do it on her own. See, this would have resolved it right there. Mike goes in for the smooch, and suddenly a bunch of violins start playing. Like, whoa, what did this? Whoa.
It's the Titanic.
Like, were people just waiting around for someone to smooch? And they're like, no. It was
They're
so
still
loud.
there. They're still there from Annette Funicello every time she cold
Right.
watered that other guy.
It's funny. All right. I lost my place. Give me one sec. There we are. Excursion time.
All right.
Cunningham is in command, they say, for the next 2 hours.
So 2 hours in command at port, we're thinking. So in theory,
The
he's
anchor's
just watching
down.
your car, right?
Right. It's not going anywhere.
Right. Because it can't go anywhere because everybody has to get back on the boat.
Right. Right.
So as much as I was ready to be like Steubing was making this a big deal, normally like he's probably taking a nap or something. So this is not, in theory, this guy should not have anything to do.
This is as much being a captain as it was when I was a kid, when I would get in the car without keys, right? And I
Yeah.
would steer the car like that's a race car driver.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah. So of all the gin joints, Steubing leaves work once. So
Again, he wouldn't check the weather himself. It's not like he doesn't have a job to do. It's not give
listen,
this to the captain. It's like, wouldn't hey, let me see the weather report? Like, isn't that part of your job as a
is this
captain?
the most isolated hurricane of all time? There's no wind. It's perfectly fine till it's not.
There's no scuttlebutt about the hurricane. No one's talking about it. No one knows anything.
Yeah,
Was there
it's not
no
a
news
tornado.
allowed?
It's not a tornado that comes out of nowhere. Hurricane,
Right.
like you get rain and wind and stuff
And
before
it's
the
coming
hurricane.
right at you.
Yeah,
The cruise
direct hit.
company wouldn't have contacted you. Hey, Steubing, hey, what the hell's going on? What do you guys? Yeah, you
You want
can't go. Like
to get our
nobody.
boat out of here, please?
That's odd. Okay. Mike and Jeannie again with the scene. Her mom went to Cabo, blah, blah, blah. They go to enjoy the day together. Excursions beginning. For the sake of just clarity, I will be referring to this island as Steubing Island. Steubing said he found this place when he was in the Navy. He was out exploring one night and he found it.
Wouldn't it have made more sense that he found it on the frequent trips to Cabo San Luca that he makes for his job?
Right. Like he's just lying. Like he's just
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Also, this is the first time I've ever seen him drive a boat.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
He fell. He
really
fell
is a
near a boat.
captain. He straightened his hat a little bit. We see a footprint in the sand after Steubing says the only thing on this island are peacocks.
Yep.
Uh,
Take that,
Everett,
NBC.
yeah, take nice, nice, eat it. Everett Buell sees someone on the other side of the lagoon. My note is Maureen basically tells everyone else that Everett is full of shit. So don't listen to Everett.
Don't listen to my husband.
But then everyone's like, "Oh, I saw it too. I saw it too." Since like Mrs. Buell looks like a it's just these
Yeah.
enough of these guys. Enough.
Yeah.
We flash back. We flash back, or we flash to the ship. Cunningham is in Stubing's office, just doing nothing, replacing his name on
Yeah.
the.
With a bigger nameplate. Yeah.
Here's that radio guy. Radio guy asks about the hurricane. Cunningham has no clue what he's doing. He's nothing. Just like, yeah, get out of here. Just
Is this the first? So the radio guy gets no name.
no name
He's very tall.
for a radio
Um,
man.
is this the first time that we've had a nameless crew member have multiple scenes? I guess the chef technically, but like usually when you're in multiple scenes as a not guest star crew member, you're in like one and done.
Well, I mean, Wally got a name after he fell down the flight of stairs.
Vince.
Vince.
R.I.P.
Who's
Vince.
Wally? Wally the
Wally's the
bartender.
bartender. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait,
So
did Vince get a name? Yeah,
yeah,
Vince got a
yeah.
name and
Because
then he
Gopher was
fell.
like, "Hey Vince, can you take these up the steps?" And then Vince died, and they never talked about him again. But he didn't get two scenes; he just got the one scene.
He got one scene.
So
That's
the radio
true.
guy gets two very important scenes, doesn't even get a name.
Within the first half of the first episode, too.
Well, they didn't pay him for that second half.
You'd think the radio guy would be vital into figuring out if the hurricane had passed. They're like, "Is it passed?" No, ask the radio guy, and they're like, "No, no, no, no,
Well,
no.
he
He's too
probably
tall.
he had to check out
I'm too tall for
of
that."
his radio room cabin.
He got out of Cabo. He's at Senior Frogs. Uh, Back on Stubing Island, Stubing sees the boat is gone, and apparently he can tell by looking at the rope that the rope has been cut, or Doc can, because he's a rope
Boy Scout.
and knife expert. Yeah. Enter John Aston, looking like a lunatic in the woods, singing
Yeah,
"Happy Birthday" to me,
looking
and he
like
has a
John
rifle.
Lennon and Jesus Christ.
Just all crazy. And then we introduce him, and we go right to commercial.
Yep. With at this point now on Stubing Island, every commercial break has like a musical flair,
Yep.
and it is 100% the Rudolph Christmas special. Like every single
That's
time, it's
funny.
like, and here comes the winter.
And then
It's just like everything is that. Like,
it is funny. That is funny. We're back on the ship. We hear an announcement saying the ship will be leaving in 15 minutes. Oh no. Mike and Jeannie again. Mike notices people are returning from Cabo. Jeannie decides that it's time to meet her mom. Then they cut back to Isaac and Mara at the bar. Like it's a lot of this. Isaac goes to check with the radio room because the ocean is getting choppy.
the weather started getting rough.
The last time I checked, but the radio room didn't even have windows. Like, what? Hey, the water's choppy, radio. Wouldn't you just ask him radio related questions? The weather guy, the radar guy,
Well, I think maybe the radio room is like the epicenter. That's like your one stop shop, right? Or maybe he's boys with the radio guy.
located deep in the heart of the passengers' cabins, the radio room. That's the after hours bar, too. That's what they do there. Uh, Enter Isaac and Mara to the bar. Isaac goes to check with the radio room. Okay. While he's gone, Wally, the bartender, completely sells out Isaac
Yep.
and tells Mara that he's a bartender.
Yeah, that's what you get for like besmirching my drink making skills.
Being mean to Wally.
Yeah,
He's
sorry,
just filling
Wally
in, man.
wins.
And I thought, too, I bet you that one he screwed up, he gave to Mike Adler.
Yeah, and Mike Adler was fine with it because he's
He's
a
like, I'm
class
great.
act.
I like a
Yeah.
tequila drink.
Yeah.
We're back on Steuben Island. Stubing Island. John Aston's leading him down a path on the island while holding them at gunpoint. He leads them
Second,
to his.
sorry, not
Yeah.
counting the skeets. Second weapon, right?
Well, no, the Christmas episode.
Right, but if you don't count
Not
the
counting the skeets.
right, is that this is the second time a
Second
gun has
episode.
been pulled on someone, right?
Yeah, second.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I know you don't like that.
No, I don't really care for
Yeah.
that. I don't really care for that. I don't think you need that.
Wait, did Did the caper people try to ever use a gun?
I don't think so. Because everything was remember Plan B was the perfect disguise of Stubing,
Right. Yeah.
but he couldn't talk like
Yeah,
Stubing,
a
and he
gun would
couldn't
have been
wear
a
a
better
hat.
plan than some
It
of
would
them.
have been much better. Just go up to the safe with go for it gunpoint, take the thing out of the safe, and then just get off the boat with your goons.
So stupid. These two-parters are gonna kill us.
It's a lot. It's a lot of nonsense. It really is. Uh, so yeah, Aston's leading him down the path, holding him at gunpoint. He leads him to a camp. This is just ridiculous. Who built this? With what supplies? Why didn't you buy a boat? Why didn't you build a boat with all these supplies? You have weather vanes and giant.
Yeah.
You couldn't have built a boat. You built a whole city.
I don't think he wants to build a boat. Should have had Tinker Toys.
So they're in the hut, and Stubing shakes the hut because that's what
Yeah.
captains do.
You know what? You know what, Captain? There's 8 of you. There's 1 of him.
No kidding.
You could have just bum rushed him before he locks you into this hut very quickly.
If you're gonna brag that you're a military man, then why
Right.
don't you act like a military
Right.
man and go do something about this?
Get those fat little thighs. Wrap around this guy's neck.
Crush his head like a coconut, Meryl. Come on.
It's a scene in Lost where Saeed kicks a guy down. He's tied up. He kicks a guy down and he snaps his head right off. So that's what
Problem
you should have done,
solved.
Stubing.
Jeannie walks up to cabin C123, knocks on the door. Oh, we're gonna meet but it's the housekeeper and not Mrs. Simpson.
Who
Although,
confusingly
how would she
looks
know
a
that?
little bit like Mrs. Simpson.
A little bit.
Not a
Well, then I
lot,
was
but
like, well, how
enough.
would she know she's housekeeping?
Right. It was enough that I was like, wait a minute. Now it wasn't
Yeah.
her, but it was like, let's make her look completely different than the mom.
So there's a housekeeping staff that changes all the bedding every day, and there's not one representative of those people in the, isn't that weird?
Well,
I'm
it's
sure
not
there
just
has to be more
that,
than one.
but it's not just that. If they're changed, I wonder if this is something that started after Radar got trapped in the room with that dog.
Or it's
They're
the
like,
lice suite.
they're like, we got to change these sheets every day to make sure these passengers are not dead.
And they're not make sure these passengers aren't male dogs delivering puppies.
Because that's way worse to clean up after 4 days.
That's horrible. There's no mess. It's amazing. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's called dry birth. We see Cunningham trying on his hat. Isaac knocks and asks if he has a hurricane plan. Cunningham tells Isaac to go get him a drink.
Yep.
Dismissed. The 70s.
Yep.
Stubing Island. John Aston trying to light his pipe in hurricane winds. I was like, what is this guy doing? It's match after match.
It's funny.
It just made me so upset.
We're deep into this recording already, and you would think, oh my god, we have so much left, but we really don't.
It's not a lot.
Things really move fast now. Once that they're on the island,
once the wind is when the wind picks up a little,
the plot goes down.
Yeah, it's about to not much left here to talk about, really. In fact, I mean, this is almost it for the first episode.
Yeah.
If we were just doing one episode, we would be done in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing. They set up. I think they set up a bunch of things.
Look at these twists and turns. M. Night Shyamalan didn't direct this.
Yeah, but they really didn't. It's like 6 dominoes.
It is.
It's and like whoever Rube Goldberg's like dumb cousin is. It's like that's
they just like this is our best.
Right.
Is this our best?
No. This is the foot we want to go forward on for the season premiere.
Maybe John Aston was pressed for time. Who knows?
John Aston seems like he had a lot of time.
He had a lot of time.
And by the way, John Aston was fantastic.
Yeah.
John Aston was absolutely great. He basically is playing his character from Night Court. In this.
He's a pro.
Great. He shouldn't have been on this episode.
No.
This
He shouldn't have
character
been
should
on
not
this.
exist.
No, you know who this could have been? Sharon Glass. This is the perfect spot for Sharon Glass right here. Oh, that would have been funny. Sharon Glass and Mrs. Roper live on the island for maybe 6 months, maybe less. After ever, Anyway, it's terrible. You can't see her with all that hair and stuff.
Oh,
Oh,
Cagney.
uh, sorry. Here comes seductive Julie. And I went, why didn't they pick
Barbie
Barbie
Benton.
Benton for this?
Yeah. And you know who else thought that was Barbie Benton?
She was like,
Barbie Benton's like, I've been on this show.
she's like,
I definitely watched episode 12 from last season. We
yeah,
all know this almost felt like I don't give these shows enough credit for being meta in 1978, but this almost was like, okay, here's what we need to do. Once every few episodes, we're gonna have Julie try to flirt because it's the worst. So,
it's bad.
I mean,
She
Steubing
was,
dunks on her, man. That's
uh,
bad.
she ties her shirt and she goes into her red hot American woman routine.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I wrote, even Steubing thinks this is awkward.
Yeah.
Uh, and then basically John Astin's like, nah, I don't want the skinny one.
Yep.
I don't
Which,
want the one with the man haircut. He might as well have been saying, like,
although
just hurts her
update, I think we're growing
ego.
that out. I think
You
we're in a bit
think?
of a grow out here. I
Yeah,
think it
we'll
was hard
see.
to tell on the island, but there was a
I hope
scene.
so.
There was a scene during that dinner scene when she comes downstairs. There was she looked like she had it styled in a way that was not last season. So
I just don't want her to
fingers
look like,
a normal person. Fingers crossed.
I'm tired of her looking like Larry Bird, you know? The Pride of French Lick India. Uh, Now Mrs. Worth tries to act seductive because John Astin's saying that she's more his style. She tells him that she's naked in the cabin. It just didn't work. Carruthers, John Astin, demands a surprise birthday party to be thrown for him. He said after the party, you can signal the ship. But he really wants a set of Tinker toys.
Which, I mean, makes sense. He's got to build some of this stuff for his, wind chimes or
It's
whatever he's
just
got there.
right. It was weather vane and his,
Right.
his
He knows there's a
coconut
hurricane coming.
milking machine. Steubing now sees the back of that map that Mrs. Worth had with the hurricane warning on it. Dun, dun, dun. Back on the boat. Cunningham's in Steubing's office flipping a coin. Always a good sign of a leader to visibly be flipping a coin over and over again because you don't even trust the outcome of the
Right.
coin flip.
That's out of 17.
Uh, Isaac shows up, says Steubing's launch hasn't returned yet. Cunningham calls the bridge, tells the bridge to lift the anchor and set off because Isaac was basically saying you gotta sail away from it.
Yeah.
And then we see so many papers flying around the pool. It's like a paper NATO just to show you all the wind. And then I'm
No,
like, where did all
it's
were people doing reports?
it's the great blizzard when the Bumble
It's a paper
showed up.
blizzard.
Like,
Well, I was wondering
let me tell you about the great hurricane in Mexico coast.
just
So
paper cuts
bad.
everywhere. Look at me, I'm
Right.
covered in paper cuts.
And to your point, 20 minutes ago, beautiful skies.
Beautiful skies, full pool.
I know there's
full of water.
an eye of a hurricane. That's not how it works.
No,
So
there's not a reverse eye. The eye's not on the
no.
outs. The leading front is the eye. It's
The
peaceful.
iris of the hurricane.
The iris of the hurricane. And then I was wondering, I wonder if it's that girl still on the boat that was writing her dissertation. Like, all of my notes.
Oh, she finally got it.
Yeah, she was writing it poolside. Isaac goes to Mara's cabin. She calls him out for being a bartender and for lying to her about being a polo player and a jet pilot. Hey, Lola Falana, don't be so dumb. Okay,
Yeah.
don't be so dumb. No
Right.
offense.
Yeah.
But
I
really,
own the Concorde. Come on.
right.
Lola,
And
you
he's a
know how much you
polo
paid for this
player.
trip.
Like, stop it.
Come on.
She throws books and a lamp at him until he leaves. Boom.
Classic.
So We're on
Yeah,
Stube and I. Mhm.
she's from Philadelphia,
Yeah,
by the
she's
way.
that's a Philadelphia move right there. That lamp throwing. She's thrown a lamp before. You could tell that muscle memory. You can't hide muscle
Yeah,
memory.
that's not acting.
So we're back on the island. Stubing now knows that this hurricane is coming. Um, Also, wouldn't you bring a radio with you?
I
Like in
guess
Star Trek, when you went
theoretically
to a different captain, they're like, "Hey, leave all your communication devices behind."
that could have happened.
What
But
about
no, that like
walkie-talkie?
John Aston could have been like, "Leave all your stuff here,"
I just
or
didn't
it's in the
see
boat.
one. It's like, yeah, who knows?
No, I agree. I mean, Stubing did. I feel like we said this many times. Stubing does not cover himself in glory here at
He
all.
didn't
So,
even bring any water. Does anybody bring a canteen? Did people not need snacks back in the day? Like they didn't get
well, it's all
dehydrated?
excursion. I think excursion, no snacks. I think if it's a day trip, snacks. A jaunt,
That's
snacks you
like
can go
light
in with.
lunch. Light. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. So
Uh, Stooping demands that Crothers give him the building tools that he used to build the cabin with.
yeah,
And I put, why?
you're a terrible hostage, Merrill. First of all,
But
you
it,
don't get to demand.
but if you have building tools, then wouldn't you just use them to overpower him?
Well, I think he's trying to now. So I think it has now shifted from escape to securing the
Oh,
hut
now it's we're all
for
humans.
safety. Right.
Because I'm thinking, well, Stooping, shouldn't you try to kill him with a hammer
Well,
or something or do something?
at one point, I thought it was going to be like this guy was a former soldier, and Stubing giving him orders was going to trigger him back into action or something like that. But no, Stubing just has one speed.
Or
So
at the end, you'd be like relieved of duty, son,
something like
just
that.
to let
But
him off the
no,
hook. Yeah, no.
but Stubing's like, all I know is to give orders that will not be followed. So,
Just we see that that's the light. We see the storm coming. It's getting dark, and that we see the to be continued flash up on the screen.
unfortunately,
Okay, part two. Let's go right into this. We see the ship is being rocked by the storm. And I wrote it, not sure why they're trying to eat dinner in the dining room while this is happening. It's
well,
cool.
first of all, something has happened to the dining room. It is so small.
It's so
So
tiny. What
this
happened
could
to the
not be
dining
the
room?
there could not be a worse dining room for you to be trapped in during a
This,
hurricane.
what are you doing? Why would you just stay in your room? You got and everything's on plates. Wouldn't this
Well,
be the time to break out paper
have they
plates?
made an announcement? They never actually make an
No, no,
announcement, right?
no.
Because Isaac gets up and
The
says
only
something.
announcement was that the boat was leaving in 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And then they're like, "Gee, somebody could have given us a heads up."
Heads up.
Jeez. Uh, Isaac tells Cunningham to do something, but this is after the marinara stain. And once that happened, Cunningham just shuts it down.
There's so
Um,
much blood.
so much. He's just, I
He's
don't know where
gone.
he is, but he's
It's like I said
gone.
earlier, it is probably not intentional. It is amazing subtlety if that's what they were actually going
He
for.
just was just, that was
Yeah,
it.
that's it. And I don't think you even see him again until the very end at that point. But it's
I think you go see, yeah, yeah.
because Isaac's basically the captain now.
Yeah, no, we do see him one more. Yeah, there's one more thing where Isaac asks about Stubing later on. He's still
Right.
like looking
Well,
at his
right. He's gotta go
jacket.
send the he's gotta go
Yeah.
send the boats. You're right. Yep. Yep.
Isaac takes charge, tells a crew member, I think it's the same radio guy, to tie everything down, to drain the pool, and ignore Cunningham. And I thought, well, that's an awful lot to tell one person to do at the same time.
Well, he's got the radio though.
Yeah, how do you drain a pool? How the hell are you
Quickly.
supposed to? Is there a plug
I
at
mean,
the? Oh, it's just a plug at the bottom of the pool.
it takes a while to drain a pool.
I gotta get a water pump. That was weird to me. Like, why would that was so people wouldn't go in it? Is that why we're draining it,
I was trying to think. So I guess,
or is it a weight thing?
but when you want more weight,
Like high center of gravity? Is it like a Suzuki Samurai type of thing that they flip over if there's water? And if it's
now I'm
that
curious.
touchy, should we really have pools on
And
cruise
it's
ships?
not. I mean, it's a 3-foot pool.
It's a 3 foot pool. It's not a one of those
Yeah.
like 400-foot deep free
Right.
diving. Yeah.
Is it maybe if the
Uh,
boat flips over, you're gonna be in water anyway? Yeah, I don't know what
uh,
that's
to
about.
discourage people to
You know
discourage
what it
from
is?
people running by the pool. We
You know
just
what it
take the
is?
water out of the pool.
I guess theoretically you could use it as a
Mm.
shelter in certain scenarios, right? Because it's like a concaved area.
I don't
That's my
know.
official guess. I don't know. Maybe Isaac
It
just
makes no sense
you
to
know
me,
what?
but
It's Isaac's revenge for falling in the pool.
oh, that is true. Now no
Yeah.
one swims. Permanent adult swim. And by adult, I mean me. He tells everyone to go back to their cabins. Cunningham's still only concerned with the marinara stain.
This is the best scene. So everybody has to file out single file because the dining room set is so small
It's so small.
that it's like they're just like leaving like one at a
What
time.
they invest in new camera angles, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Here's the bad news: we have to get a smaller dining room."
But the thing is, you have to, as an actor, you have to walk in a single file, but also convey your
Convey like a
hurricane
rocking
acting.
sea.
It's like so
Yeah,
ridiculous.
we're back
And
on the
you know
island.
why I think they had to do it, besides I'm sure it's like some budget thing or a new season, they didn't have the sets opened up yet, is that normal dining room in
Yeah.
that shaking, it would have been like The Exorcist, like, stuff would have been flying across
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
room,
yeah. Yeah, it
like
was too much, too
yeah,
much. They
couldn't
wanted
do that.
light touch.
Yeah,
They're trying to get away with painting with such a wide brush on the
yeah,
Love Boat in season
no,
2.
sorry.
Back on the island, everyone's waiting to storm out in the cabin. While checking on the roof of the cabin, which makes no sense. Hey, go outside in the hurricane that we're all in here to try to stay away from. Go out and
Right.
check. A palm tree falls on Gopher, which I don't know how much of it fell on him if the only thing he had was a concussion. So it only hit him in the head. Let me just say, palm trees are huge and palm trees are really heavy. But
Well, it would have
okay.
broke his neck, theoretically, if it hit you in the
It broke his
head.
back or
Yeah.
something. He would have been no
But,
blood.
I mean, this is insane that
Yeah, it's
Steubing
just
tells him to do this.
uh yeah, Gopher should have been like, no, we're not on a
No.
ship. You go do it,
Everybody
Navy
else would have
man.
been like, "No." Like, "No, I'm not going
No,
out there to check on the roof." Guess
no.
what? The roof is wet.
The roof is the roof.
So,
If it we'll be the
yeah,
first to
you'll
know if
know.
there's a hole in the roof.
You'll know.
They lift the tree off of him and move him inside the cabin. Gopher's got a concussion. Doc tells Kiki to stop feeling sorry for herself. To Kiki Selfish. Maureen and Everett, here we go again. Maureen says she's not happy in the marriage and she wants to be swept off her feet by a man, a real man. Everett talks about his first mistress, and apparently he's been cheating on Maureen for years.
I
Dun
have
dun dun.
so many questions about that scene.
What was the
So,
point?
first of all, completely out of context, like, Gopher's dead, basically, and they're having this conversation mid-hurricane. Guess what? If I'm gonna die in a hurricane,
Yeah.
I don't wanna solve our relationship at this
No,
point,
I'll go to
like
the grave with those problems
right.
unresolved. I'm fine with it.
And one of us
I can go to
decided to
bed
go on
mad.
that
Doesn't
cruise,
bother
so either
me.
I'm gonna feel pretty stupid or pretty pissed, one or the other, but
Mhm.
regardless.
Mhm.
So the first part is she's talking about how she wishes he was a real man and all this stuff. So I thought it
Yeah.
was setting up that he was gonna, like, take a run at John Aston, like, try and overthrow him or something like that,
That's what she should have been doing. He was
maybe even
huge.
get wounded, like, something like that, right? No, of course not. Then he decides that to portray himself as a real man, he, spoiler, lies about all these affairs he's having, which is the old thing where I guess the woman is more attracted because other people are attracted to her, but it is yet another weird ass reaction to adultery on this show, even though
Yeah.
it's not real. That saved their marriage. Him lying about being an adulterer in a
It's gotta
hurricane.
be like a '70s thing or just, it just seems, but I feel like it's always the man cheating. Well, no, 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 that's not
No, because
true, because remember
not
season
Eva
1?
Gabor, Loretta Swit was cheating.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's they treat it very I don't know, it's
I
weird.
don't it was so unnecessary as a plot point.
But it's almost like
It is to the point now where I think they're just like, it's whatever AI was in 1978, it's like adultery, sure, throw it in there. Like, even though you didn't even need it. You didn't even need it in
you didn't
there
need it.
at all.
Well, the weird thing too is it's always framed that like this example of adultery somehow strengthened our relationship.
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
Every time. It's very. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. It's very weird. You couldn't say that now. You couldn't portray this in that way at all now. It would not be cool.
You'd have to resolve it. Like, as far as we
Right.
know, Maureen does not know that he was lying.
Right. Well, no,
He
she
only told
didn't. But what a
he only told
weird
Doc.
thing to like, I'm gonna play a game.
Right. Yeah.
What?
Right. And theoretically, you were going to perhaps die. This would be the last thing you say to your wife.
So weird, man. Why if he said that, why didn't he say, "Hey, why don't you shut up? Stop yelling at me all the time." You couldn't keep it real. You had to come up with this crazy lie about
Right.
what's wrong
No,
with
no idea.
you?
No idea.
Shoot. Uh Back on the ship, Mike goes to Jeannie's cabin. Oh, he falls on top of her. Uh-oh.
Oh, this is
Again, it's so
great
many
acting.
choppy scenes. Like, uh-oh. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're back on Steuben's Island again. Gopher's delirious, just talking a bunch of nonsense. Mrs. Worth tries talking to Crothers. He used to work at Disneyland, dressed as Humpty Dumpty after his failed marriage. Fun fact.
Did you notice though? Then they don't say Mickey Mouse,
No, no, no.
but they describe Mickey
Yeah,
Mouse. And
completely.
I wonder if it's because they couldn't get away with saying Disney stuff litigiously. Because don't forget, ABC is not owned by Disney at
No,
this
no,
point.
no. Some rodent, you know?
Yeah, some
Uh,
some big eared guy in a red pants. Like
that's
that's
funny.
yeah.
Fun fact, there is no mention of Humpty Dumpty being an egg. In fact, it is believed that Humpty Dumpty is actually a cannon positioned on the wall of a castle during the English Civil War, not an egg.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a chicken and egg type argument.
Well, not
Egg,
egg.
non-egg. So I go non-egg. He misses the sound of a sympathetic, sexy female voice like Mrs. Roper. Because when I think sexy, I think Mrs. Roper's voice.
I mean, to be fair, this guy's been on a desert island for 20 years, but yeah.
Yeah, he calls her a dish. Now we see half the cabin's roof collapses. And Mrs. Worth asks Steubing to say a prayer for them. And Steubing's going to be all earnest about it. I will, Mrs. Like, shut up. Shut up, Meryl.
I
So
watched I
stupid.
watched most of most of the island stuff, especially. I watched it with your voice in my head, and I will say this: you are justified in everything you're saying.
This is a bad one, man.
This was like, you know who we're really going to screw with this week is Mike Taylor in the future. Like, this is
It's come
yeah,
on. He's
no,
just so
it's
fake
really ridiculous.
leader and
There's one thing he does at the very end that is the worst thing, but this is pretty bad.
it's just cringy. Crothers asked him to mention the surprise party in his prayer, which I thought weird. Mrs. Crothers says God won't mind, which I thought was even weirder.
Yeah.
Like, so what if you only have 6 months to live? You have a direct line. Like, how does
I
that?
mean,
You have
maybe she's probably got to fill out some
maybe
paperwork,
we have to put a deposit down. I think
Right.
so. Uh,
Letter of intent.
that's fine. Kiki Selfish turns over a new leaf by removing her hairband and pressing it against Doc's face first. And I'm like, why is she
Yep.
pressing her dirty ass hairband against Doc's face before she rinsed it off?
I
Like,
would
what?
say I would say again, unearned her face turn in this, right? They didn't really give like they should have had something almost fall on her or something.
A sympathetic act to
Right.
turn right, right, right.
I mean, we like 10 minutes ago, Julie is as mean to her as Julie's been to anybody. She's like, "Why don't you stop being such a bitch?" Basically, and now 10 minutes later, she's putting on, I don't know, scrunchies on Doc's face and, nursing
It
Gopher.
was.
Like no reason
Yeah.
why.
There was nothing to
No. Why are you less? Why are you
what
less the way you are now? So
just yeah. We're back on the boat. Do you see what I mean? This episode is
oh
just
yeah, it's
the
so much worse when you read
choppiest.
it.
Ugh,
Yeah.
so choppy. Back on the boat, we see Isaac calling Cunningham, who is still concerned with the marinara stain, asking him about Steubing. Isaac suggests notifying the Mexican authorities and asking them to search the islands near Cabo. Good for you, Isaac.
So the hurricane's over on the boat at that point, right?
Well, because they left the area.
Right.
I
So
mean, they
they
move.
right, you're right.
Hurricanes
You're
move
right.
east.
I
You'd
forgot
think
about
it would. You'd think it would still be hammering Cabo. They've only been gone for 15
yeah.
minutes.
Now apparently the hurricane was this wide. So
It was very thin. Yeah, it
yeah,
was
it was
like
a thin line.
it was
Do
the
you think
size of
the
Rhode Island.
Mexican authorities that they called were that guy with the rifle that they called to get the dog out of the room? It's like,
It is true. All he has is one tranquilizer dart.
yep.
What do you
That's
want
all
me
he
to
needs.
do?
That's
A
all he
boat?
needs. John Aston.
Uh, Mike and Jeannie are reflecting on their night of passion together.
Yeah.
Jeannie
Well, there was
still
a pretty
hasn't seen
good
her. Hmm?
there was a pretty good line in there. I think Donna Mills is basically like, I think he's like, that was a wild night and everything getting thrown around, and
Oh, there
she's
was
like,
a
what
hurricane
storm?
too.
Like that kind of thing.
Jeannie still hasn't seen her mother. Enter Mike's mom, Mrs. Simpson, Vera Simpson. But Jeannie storms off.
No, so what happens
What happened
is,
there?
so Mike introduces his mom,
Oh, it's that.
and
Yeah,
then, oh wait, you're right. Wait, because how did
she
she finds
storms.
out and she's not there? Why did she storm off?
The name Vera Simpson
That's
because
what
she
it was.
asked where the road.
That's
So
what it
she
was.
storms off, and
She
I wrote.
storms off. Mike can't figure it out. Right.
I go,
Then
we might have a situation
right,
here.
that's what happens. And then Mike's like, "Oh, she's been looking for her mom," and immediately Vera Simpson's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Uh-oh."
And we go
And
right
then
to
she's like,
commercial.
"By any chance she wasn't born
Did
in
you happen to
Omaha?"
have relations with?
Yeah.
It's real convenient the way they've
Yeah.
summed that all up.
Yeah.
They
It
should have
was,
been like, you might
any
want to
port in a
visit us.
storm, Mike Adler. Jeez.
Good Lord. Keep it in your pants, Mr. Adler.
You should just
Back,
assume everyone, the first time you meet them, could be your
it could be,
stepsister.
especially on this. We'll pull up. Don't you have a giant baby picture of me in your suitcase that you hide? Back on the island again. Here we go. Everyone is asleep. Uh,
Standing up like horses.
it's so weird. Bunch of giraffes like holding up for the storm. Maureen and Everett Buell. Maureen wakes Everett up, and she's now decided that he's a real man because of the lie we don't know is a lie that he told her that he'd been cheating on her for years, but he really hadn't.
Right.
But the thing he's being honest about is that he saw a UFO.
Right. Just literally
What the?
let him catch a tree branch and save her from getting hit by it.
Do something.
That's it. That's all you got to do. Ridiculous.
Just the storm has passed. Gopher wakes up. Everyone's glad he's feeling better. Of course, Julie apologizes for no reason because of a lack of self confidence. I'm sorry, Gopher, that a tree fell on you, knocked you out, you got a concussion, and now you're back.
Right. Sorry, I was being
Settle
so
down,
mean.
Julie. Everything's
Yeah.
fine, Julie. Mrs. Worth tells Crothers that today is his birthday, and he's all excited. Kiki Selfless spells out help on the beach with rocks
Teresa.
while right? She spells out help on the beach with rocks while everyone's asleep. How is it that she's the only
Right. She's a morning person. Also, she had enough time to steal a gun, check the bullets,
and
and
then
give
give
it
it back
back.
to him? She confirms it's full of dirt.
Which, by the way, hey, Stuving, in all your naval training, did you ever look inside the barrel of a gun?
Just amazing.
It's just
You
like,
see the barrel packed with dirt?
do you ever fill a water gun up with sand on the beach? Like that's
It's just
like, it's like,
just
come
no
on,
awareness. Kiki knew.
yeah,
Captain confronts Crothers and tells him that he will be spending the rest of his life in prison for kidnapping and piracy.
maritime law.
Julie now asks Stubing to forgive Crothers. Stubing's like, listen, just because you don't have confidence doesn't mean that my confidence is so low. I'm going to let somebody kidnap me and hold me at fake gunpoint.
Yeah, no,
Come on,
fair
Julie.
enough. Fair enough. This man should be arrested. Bummer for John Aston because he's clearly
Bummer.
crazy.
He's super crazy.
I will say, Steubing piles on though, and basically says you almost had Gopher killed, and I'm like, no, 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 no,
That's a bit
no,
much. That's
no,
not. He helped
Steubing,
him.
Steubing, you almost killed Gopher.
Yeah, yeah. You told him to go out there, dummy.
Yeah,
Always looking.
yeah. John Aston was not like, let me kill your purser.
Steubing really is Commandant Lassard. Maybe
It's
maybe
getting that.
not as
It's getting that way.
exaggerated, but ugh.
It's getting that way. And they did this whole episode was really what we always talk about, where it's like they try to make him this military mind and this leader, but when push came to shove, it was Barbie Benton and Mrs. Roper who
Yeah,
really
save the day.
and Isaac who really saved the day. So
We're back on the boat. Mrs. Simpson's at Jeannie's door. She tells Jeannie that she never saw her and that she was taken away from her while she was asleep. She
which
said there was
honestly,
no.
you know what?
What's that?
I could have used that the first couple hours in the hospital too.
That's funny. Mrs. Simpson saying there was no tolerance for people who broke the rules. She was told that it would be impossible for her to raise Jeannie by herself. And without a husband, she got married and had to hide the fact that she'd previously had a baby. I wrote, "Are we not talking about the potential incest situation? Are we gonna
Not
wait
yet.
for the credits?"
I'll tell you one thing.
And then she explains, but
Nebraska does not mess around. They're
no,
like, "We're taking that baby immediately.
you
You had that
don't.
baby out of wedlock? We're
Yeah,
taking it while you're asleep."
you'd be fine in Oklahoma, but
Yep.
don't you come to Nebraska pregnant.
Hey, they call
About
it
to deliver
Nebraska,
baby.
not they call it Nebraska, not Nebastard.
Exactly. What he said. Exactly. We learned about the stepmom situation, and I wrote, "Boy, we've dodged a potential incest bullet right there."
Well, and it
Okay.
felt so tacked on, right? So Mike
Oh,
shows up
you know what
midway
the real deal
through,
is.
uh, what's her name? Lola, Viola, whatever, Mrs. Simpson.
Yeah.
Midway through her stubby attempt. Like, she
Right.
is just like, "And I never knew my
Mm,
baby." Like, she's doing all that stuff. He's in the back. So then Donna Mills is finally like, "Okay, cool." Takes it better than I would, but whatever, good for her. But then she stands up and she sees Mike and she's like, "Oh no, do you see the problem is I'm in love with you?" And Mike's like, "Well, what's the problem?" "Oh, right."
oh, no, it's my stepmom. No,
And
that.
and they went to commercial so fast after that. It was almost like somebody in the writer's room was like, guys, we need to write
Oh,
this
guys,
off real quick." Like,
we might have screwed this up. What's already in the can? Like,
yeah.
well, we need to
Like,
overdub some lines here,
Dave
maybe,
Bernie's got like
potentially.
a beard. He's at Serpico.
That's funny. That's funny. Back on the island again, because of course, Julie and Kiki Selfless are making a mud cake for Carruthers because we're all crazy now. Uh, Mrs. Worth is clearly delusional. Captain goes to get Carruthers for the party, and everyone gives him a surprise party. Doc gives him a watch. What is wrong with everybody?
A watch, which seems pretty helpful actually to them
Right.
getting lost.
But like, what do you Gopher gives him the glasses nose mustache. Steubing
Yeah.
suggests they get to the beach to light a signal fire. And this is when Mrs. Worth is invited to stay on the island with Carruthers. And this is when, man, it gets all.
Yeah.
Mrs. Worth says,
This was like, here you go. Here is some heavy scenery for you two to chew.
"We're going to
But this
force
felt
you
like
to feel better
absolute
about.
padding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we want you to feel better about the John Aston character. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to back you into a corner with sympathy."
Yeah.
Ugh.
So it turns out
Uh,
Mrs. Worth is dying.
6 months to live.
We're all dying though, honey.
We're all dying. We're all dying. You know.
Yep.
There's a reason why the windshield's bigger than the rear view mirror. You know what I mean? Woo. Uh, Carruthers is fine with this, and he goes in for the smooch. He's like, "Yeah, okay, cool." Like, whatever.
Listen, when you're literally the last man on earth,
Hey,
which is what he
that's what
kind
it
of is,
is. She
you
says,
know.
"Oof." Isaacson is captain. Here comes Mara. She apologizes to him, does not throw a lamp at him.
Yep.
and she's impressed with how he acted during the hurricane. Tells him to be himself, and then big hug.
I mean, Isaac generally has a rough storyline when they give him one, but he always comes out
He
a
does.
better person for
He
it.
does. He does. Absolutely.
They do that much better than they do with other characters.
I agree.
So,
Steubing and the party are excited. Steubing and the party are getting on a boat to leave the island. Mrs. Worth explains she's going to stay on the island with Crothers.
great reaction by Gavin McLeod when what?
For real?
Why would you
like,
do that?
No, you're not.
Do you think he is going to have her stuff sent like he said he would?
No.
Like it's her.
He forgot as soon as he got on the boat. He didn't even check for hurricanes before he gets on a boat to leave for a cruise. You think he's going to remember that?
That luggage is going to come up in episode like 17. So somebody's going to be like, there's like a lot of old lady clothes here.
You're going to go, there could be a couple corpses on that island. You're like, thanks a lot for getting that back to me. Oh,
my medicine was in there.
So now guests are leaving the boat. That's what he said. It sort of wraps itself up.
It is amazing.
Kiki Selfless says she had a wonderful 3 days and then goodbye.
But that indicates that when they got back, her and Doc were an item. So
hey,
Adam Bricker, keep on hammering.
Keep on hammering. How many times can I swing it in that bat? Well, anyway. And we see another gopher camera prank. Wah, wah, wah. Julie way overreacts to. It's water, Julie. I don't know what you think is coming at you in that liquid. It's not vinegar or whatever. She freaked out. We see the Buells seem to be happy now. Doc, of course, because, why wouldn't you ask somebody a personal question? Wants to know more about these mistresses. Of course. Tell me more about these mistresses. It's like, what? Turns out Mr. Buell made up the women. That was a lie. But the truth, the story he was telling the truth about was that he really saw a UFO.
It felt like this in the viewing, but when you really spill it out on paper, there was zero reason for them to be in this episode.
Nothing.
They really didn't add anything, and I don't think it's the actors' fault. I think they were both good, but it was
you have
like
3 storylines. Like what was the point of them?
Like,
why do they have an extra storyline?
Love Boat doesn't do this, but they should have killed Everett. Like
both of them should have gone.
Right.
I'd been fine.
That's what it felt like. They felt like cannon fodder for this story. Like, and
like
the
Kirk would
adultery
take
thing
like
is the cherry on the adultery thing is cherry on top. So.
Captain Kirk would take like the
guy in the red shirt. Yeah, it's the Sam Rockwell character in Galaxy Quest. Like that's what it is. Yeah, so
it's funny. Mike and Jeannie, now leaving with Mrs. Simpson, are already planning their wedding because everyone leaves the boat and immediately they should put a wedding chapel right on the other side of like
they should put a divorce attorney on the other side.
They should on that one too.
Now, first of all, Mike Adler is a man of means. If he's a soap opera star. Also, like, I'm sorry. This is like getting by on a technicality. So you're going to marry your stepmom's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it. But if you have to explain the relationship to your spouse in more than like 3 or 4 words, I think you might have gone too far. Like, this is not going to go over well at parties.
No, especially when your in-laws, there's just 3 of them. It's odd, dude.
It's just
That's weird, man.
They write it off so like a
just
misunderstanding.
Casual. Marriage solves everything.
I get it. Technically, no harm, no foul. But it's a little weird. Like,
oh yeah.
It's a weird scene, man. Like,
it is.
Like, Mrs. Simpson, are you telling the girls a gin that story? Probably not.
Oh, the funniest thing happened, and everyone's just like, Oh, and they had
My
sex before they
bastard
knew they weren't
child,
related? Oh.
my bastard child had sex with my adopted child. No,
Like,
wait, stepchild.
so there was a window where they thought, um,
And there was a hurricane.
and there was a hurricane. Yeah, of course. Cunningham has decided that the sea is not for him. No kidding. He
Yeah,
should go into the dry
I'm pretty
cleaning
sure the
business.
Princess Cruise Line decided the sea is not for you there, Cunningham.
Yeah, that's. Or I've
Yeah,
decided to
yeah. Pursue other
um,
endeavors.
may become a. He said he may become a hermit on a deserted island like his brother did. What?
For
What are the
about
chances?
5 seconds when John Aston first showed up, I thought it was Dick Martin in costume.
Oh, that would have been cool. Like his brother, his
Right.
twin brother.
Yeah.
I love a
And then I
twin
realized
story.
it was John Aston, but
Isaac and Mara have a full day of plans. Steubing offers him a promotion and extra pay. Steubing says, "Your vacation, Isaac, your vacation is over. Now get back to work." End of
I will
episode.
okay. So I will say this, that the payoff for Isaac does a lot of lifting for all of that.
Sure.
Now I will be curious to see if it actually makes it to future. Like I'm sure somebody stitched on the thing on his bartenders. That's weird to have a
What's he going to
bartender
get
jacket.
promoted to if he's the senior bartender? What are you, super
I wonder if
secret
it's like
senior?
when like NFL guys like they have like a assistant
Oh,
head coach.
C? Oh,
So I wonder if it's gonna be something like that. But
interesting.
anyway, that felt like the first time, and again, we don't know if it'll actually stick, but
We
that
don't
felt like
know.
the first time that somebody's good work is being rewarded.
I
You know,
agree.
we don't see a lot of good work either,
No, we don't
which
see
is
a lot of good work.
definitely part of it. Um, but yeah, that's quite a way to come back. So totals in a recap. Our intention is to kind of recycle best and worst episodes because we're in a new season. Check the stubbies to find out what was the best and worst of season one, but we're starting with a fresh slate. So technically, much like a marrying your stepdaughter or son or whatever, brother, this is both the best and worst episode of the
Yeah.
season. Also, technically, we don't count two-parters because they are not normal. And the reason we don't do that sometimes is because they're longer and you have more storylines, and it's really not
Yeah.
a fair comparison. This one doesn't count because it's not a Love Boat episode.
No, this is just a weird.
It's
Yeah, it was odd. It was
it's
odd.
not. It's like the search storyline is definitely a Love Boat story. 100% could have
Yeah, I get
appeared on
that.
any episode.
Sure.
Some of the Isaac thing absolutely could have happened, but it
Yeah.
would have been like Steubing gets
But it's kind of the same story. It's linked to the same story.
right, exactly. But like if you had an episode later on where it was like Steubing gets malaria and he's sick and Isaac steps in and does some of that stuff, like that would make sense. That's a Love
Sure.
Boat story. So
I get into
I'll give
that.
him half on that one.
Yeah.
That's not even a real. That's a completely different show. Whatever happened on that island. That is not a Love Boat episode.
No.
That is not really an episode of television I'd want to watch. That was
No, it's crazy. It was
that
crazy.
was-
Especially
there
for a
were
season
no
premiere. Like, wow.
like. What's the best moment on that island?
I mean, I guess you can make an argument. The face turn of
But that
Kiki
wasn't
Selfless,
unearned.
but it's not really a.
I
I
mean, we
mean,
got
the
to see
only
her
thing,
really
the
flirt at
payoff of
the
that
end.
whole thing was Mrs. Worth, I guess, in the end,
Yeah.
deciding to stay on the island. But is that really? That's not
You know
really.
what that
I
is
mean, it's
too.
technically a
You know what that
payoff.
is?
Gift of the
That
Magi.
is, I assume. I assume. Oh, so two notes
Mm,
because, so at one point, Mrs. Worth clearly is saying goodbye to John Aston, but she doesn't
mm-hmm.
say anything. She just kind of gives him a look, and he goes, "I know." So Star Wars Empire Strike Back ripped off the Han Solo Princess Leia thing from this episode. Two, on Lost,
It's amazing
the
insight,
character
by
of
the way. Yeah.
the character of Rose
Mm.
has cancer, and she never goes off the island because the island has healed her. So potentially, Mrs. Roper will survive, and J.J. Abrams ripped that off.
You're saying this is that island with the polar bear and all that?
This is the Lost Island. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I've never seen an episode of that show.
I just rewatched it last year. It is really good, and then it's not, but it's worth your time.
I'll check it out. I've heard not great things, but
It's
I
worth your
try to.
time. But
I'll
yeah,
check it out.
there's a lot going on. So anyway,
So by
uh,
default, this is the King of the Hill
y-
/ not
not
King of the
King of
Hill.
the Hill. Yeah.
Fair
So
enough.
hopefully, so I think next week we'll be bumping it for sure. But I would say it's not even as good as the two-parter we did last year,
No,
which
no, it's
which we
nowhere
did
near.
not love.
No, we didn't love that one.
Captain of the week.
I mean, I don't know where else you go with this. It's got to be Isaac
Yeah, it
because he
really
was
is.
the captain, literally,
No, he
of the
was the
week.
captain now. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was great. Um, and again, I feel like they've done this a few times where Isaac comes in hot, kind of has a face turn in the middle, not even a face turn, but just like a
like a
realization.
more, yeah.
And I almost wonder if they realize it, but B, it's like they didn't give Ted Lang anything to do
Mm-mm.
last season, and maybe they
They've
realize,
learned.
hey, he's got the chops. Like,
Absolutely.
listen, that Roxy Blue thing, that just isn't Diane Carroll. Like, that's him. The Pearl Bailey one, that's him too. Like,
He's great. He's great.
he can keep up with these guys,
Yeah,
So no, he was really good. I was glad to see that. I did enjoy the the incest storyline more than I expected.
sure.
I thought it was good. It had the proper amount of gotchas,
Yeah,
basically a double gotcha.
double gotcha.
So I thought that was okay too. But yeah, I think it's Isaac.
I agree.
Walk the plank.
Again, who else are we going to pick but Cunningham?
Yeah,
Again, I could pick Stubing every single time for Walk the Plank, but what's the fun in that? I would say it has to be Cunningham. There's nobody else.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he technically almost killed 600 people,
Yeah.
but I will say, Stubing put him in that position.
Oh, it's Stubing's fault.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is a season. You referenced season one Stubing, episode one, as the pinnacle of his season, and I
Oh,
would say
that's a
this
good
is not
point.
that.
This is whatever the opposite of that one
This is the
is.
opposite. So maybe
Yeah.
that means nowhere to go but up. But the fact that he almost killed Gopher, almost killed 600 passengers, um,
Almost killed
and
601 people this episode. Yeah.
yeah. So well, hopefully onward and upward for Stubing and this show as we get back to normal next week.
Well, you know what? I have to take this back though, because if the Walk the Plank guy is Cunningham, right? I don't think that's fair. And I
Okay.
say that because no one else realizes his limited capabilities. So somebody else, like you said, put him in that spot.
Yeah.
He couldn't have possibly succeeded in that spot. So is it Cunningham's fault that he was put in that spot? Or is it Stubing's fault for like you said, I think I'm going to switch and say Stubing, not even
There
in a
you go.
joking way,
No,
but
I
level
think
of
this is,
irresponsibility.
if you're ever going to give it to Stubing, I
Oh,
think
you
this
know
is
what?
this is the
Stubing.
week. I will say the Buells, which I did not think coming into this episode but absolutely the Buells were just nothing, and I really am starting to get annoyed with this adultery thing. So
Yeah, it's just I hope they give it a break for a bit.
yeah,
Like
just
enough.
don't even mention adultery for the rest of the season. Just you don't have
So
to do it right. Just don't do it at all.
I
So
agree.
that's totals and a recap for season 2, episode 1.
Well, let's do this. Let's check the old mailbag.
All right,
My
first time
favorite.
season.
First time in a while. Probably have some time to probably take a bit to go through the folders.
Don't get a paper cut.
It's checking for now. Let me just make sure. Let me just hit it again, refresh it again. Probably have. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. You can find us on our Facebook group, also on Instagram, both Love Boat Project, and reach out to us on email. Doesn't seem to be working so far.
It's probably some. You know what? Maybe we should check our
An
spam
internal
filter.
bug.
Spam filter,
Yeah.
probably.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I checked that. Doesn't seem to be a
Yeah.
filtering issue. So,
Maybe it's the
um,
hurricane.
it's the hurricane. I
Yeah.
know everyone's busy with the holidays approaching. It's all good. It's just a slow time of year for
The Memorial Day.
email.
The Memorial Day holiday
The
rush. It's like,
pre-Memorial Day rush is upon us. Again, you can email us at theloveboatproject@gmail.com. Don't be afraid to send an email or two.
You could be the first person to
Could
have
be
an
the
email read
first
on this
one.
show. We know you're listening.
We know you're
We do
listening.
know you're listening.
Come on,
We don't know if you're
Canada.
writing.
I'd put so much faith in that Canadian Walk of Fame thing. I thought we're gonna get,
Oh, I forgot about that. That was so last season though. This year, I want to hear why you empty a pool during a hurricane.
yeah, or what's there to do in Utah in the summer? That's what I want to know. Also, if we have a Utah visitor, is it going to be the Utah Coyotes? Just wondering.
Or maybe it's the Cougars from Superdome.
That would be good. That would be good. Anything else to plug, Mike?
Yeah, Hidden Season Patreon. You can listen to Absolutely Hammered every Wednesday. We have a new episode, me and Chris and Justin talking about the Phillies, who, we recorded some of those episodes early that you heard me say how good the Phillies were. Turns out, still correct. Phillies obviously going to win the World Series, which will time out right around our Christmas episode when I'm in a Santa hat in 150 degrees. So,
Yeah, no sweat.
Rocktober,
Literally.
baby.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thanks.